Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, to today's stream where we are going to be talking about how to be resilient during difficult times. We want to let you know that if you want to come up and join the live discussion, you can do so by looking at the pinned comment in whatever environment platform you're viewing this in. Just click right there. You will bring you backstage on the stream area, and you can come up and discuss with us. And Steve, how you doing today? Fantabulous.
I'm pooped. I just got back from a walk, like a 4.5 mile walk. It's finally 80 degrees, so I got some of that heat sucking out of me after the 6 months of winter time that we had. And now I'm just hanging out here sweating my ass off, doing the damn
I f-
thing.
I forget that it's not winter anymore in the U.S. because down here it's pretty much the same about every day of the year, with
Yeah,
some degree of variance. But usually around this time of year, and what we'll get into this as we start to develop the topic more. But this last week or so, it was a holiday week. It was Semana Santa, which I believe it's All Saints Week in the U.S. We don't really celebrate it like they do in Latin America, but the whole country just shuts down for the week. And then yesterday was Easter, or 2 days ago was Easter. So it was weird. Everything was kind of dead here, which kind of threw my energy off a bit. I'm really receptive to my energy and my external
yeah,
environments. And with everything being dead around me, I kind of found myself in a bit of a lull to the point where I still worked. I still got things done that needed to be done, but a lot of people were off for vacation. So things that I needed to get done, I got caught up on my end, but there are bottlenecks on other people because, they're out living their lives and doing
right.
family stuff and whatnot. So I found myself kind of in a little bit of a rut. And I was texting Steve during that time and letting him know. He's like, yeah, bro, I feel kind of off too. So I figured, all right, well, an appropriate topic for today might be just resiliency, or how do you get into a rut? How do you get out of ruts? What are ruts to begin with? And what does that look like for most people? And I'm assuming a lot of guys have probably found themselves in that situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you got to remember, even like guys who are highly productive, and I'm not claiming to even be that guy, but guys that are highly productive, even there, you just have moments where you don't have it together. Sometimes it's just about getting up and putting one foot in front of the other, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's about getting up and brushing your, like, taking it literally 1 second at a time, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, all that stuff sometimes gets, it's it's mundane. It's like it's part of what we do, but um, for me, it felt a little bit like, kind of like you were talking about, like a Christmas week in a way. Like almost like nobody was really doing anything, and we're in that space right between winter and storm season, and my business gets hectic
Mm-hmm.
for the next about 6 months, 7 months. Um, and there was just like it was like the stuff that I had going was caught up and just stuck in whatever status it was in. It couldn't get out for whatever reason. And then stuff that I wanted to start, I can't start because my contractor clients, they are just now getting into storm season, so they're all collecting effectively what is going to end up being my work over the next like 90 days. And that, dude, it was tough. That, and just having the extra project that I was telling you about, spent
Mm-hmm.
40 hours on it, decided to can it at the end of the day, started another project that's more of a personal thing that I can kind of do at my own pace and do it for enjoyment, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think that it's important to remember that, we're not going to, no matter how hard you are, you're not going to be 100% all day every day, no matter what. It's just not. I think if it's possible, I mean, you're a super freak with no life. You're a fucking avatar, for all I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, just to let you know that we are people behind the camera. We're not just avatars. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, enable all notifications for the channel, leave any comments down below, and share with your friends. Just little housekeeping type stuff. But yeah, dude, I felt kind of the same way this last week. I was just out of it, and I didn't really know why. And me, yeah, I don't use terms like, okay, I'm super uber hyper productive. I'm actually really pretty tough on myself, but sometimes I have to take a step back. And when I compare myself to other people, which there's debate if that's a good thing or not, but sometimes you do have to have that point of comparison and know, like, okay, am I overdoing it? Am I underdoing it? Am I right where I should be? I found myself this whole last week kind of in those types of brain states or having those questions pop in my head in terms of we've been going hard on a lot of projects. This is
Yeah,
one of many things that Steve and I have going on in our respective lives, and it all fits into a bigger picture, a bigger vision of something we're looking to do over the longer term. But it was to the point where like, all right, I simultaneously feel burned out, but I also feel like I'm not really doing anything,
that's
and that's a
exactly what it
weird
was. Yeah,
position to be in. Does that resonate with
absolutely.
you?
Well, yeah, it's like, we kind of took a pause for a second from streaming because of whatever technical issues that we're having, and just not having enough time with all the projects that we're doing, and all the writing we have to do, and all the, me running my business, and that's kind of like getting back into a thing. And you had stuff. It was just, you don't understand that, like, these people, a lot of these, I'm saying these people, us, right? We have lives. We have relationships, we have pets, we have to eat,
Mhm.
we have to sleep, shit like that, and exercise. And just over the last week alone, like, there were two nights where I was so busy mentally, not even that I was actually doing anything, but I was so busy mentally that I just didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 36 hours, two times in 4 days. And that is impossible. Like, you just can't do that. Like, not if you want to be a productive human. And even last night, I got 4.5 hours of sleep. So that's the other thing too, is once you start getting into, like, once you start depriving yourself of that stuff, you don't think straight. You kind of lean more in the emotional direction in your thought process, and that's where, like, exercise really helps. Going for the walks really helps. Listening to music or listening to podcasts or whatever, just kind of like getting out of, it's like a getting out of your own head in a way, really does help you in the short term, and just kind of give your analytical mind the R&R that it needs.
Yeah, that was kind of my experience last week. I think there were a few days, which you and I text all the damn time, but there were a few
Yeah,
days where sleep just wasn't going to happen. And I think I strung a few days like that together too, which will naturally knock me off my grind or my game. So this weekend didn't really feel like doing much. I had, and Steve, you'll remember back when you and I started hanging out, like what, 12, 13, whatever it was years ago,
yeah,
to where I used to have anxiety real bad. So I started getting that back this weekend for whatever reason. And for me, it's almost like it's almost like a thought spiral to the point like, okay, well, I feel anxiety in my gut. Where's this coming from? Because objectively, I look at everything in my life. Everything is good. I should not have anxiety. There should not be this energy there. Why is it there? And then in going through that process, it almost invokes or provokes more anxiety, which is
it
kind of
does.
funny. But I got to the point like uh, I I'm usually like an all or nothing type guy. So either I'm working, head down, grinding, or and then I realize weeks have gone by. So a few weeks ago, I was talking about like I did the Miami trip, I did a Cancun trip, I did EDC, like 3 weekends in a row, and I got kind of burned out from that. Like, all right, I'm screwing off too much. I need to get down
Nice.
down on it. I need to grind. Knocked out like a month of just doing solid work, and then got to the point this last week. I was like, you know what? I want to go out. I want to go do something. I
Hmm.
mentioned all the time on this channel. I'm not the biggest drinker, but went out a couple times with groups of friends, and it had a cocktail with nice rooftop type view. And I post those stories on Instagram if you guys want to follow Instagram at Jaron Scott. Posted all that stuff.
That's funny. So what a
Had a
plug.
good time. Yeah, you got to get all the plugs in.
That's funny.
Had a good time doing that, and then yesterday I was just kind of dead, kind of like in that in between phase. We're like, all right, well, I had a little bit of a distraction on the weekend. I was able to go out and have some fun and not think about business or not think about things that I've been focused on this last month or so, and allow some of that energy to go out. So I did feel better, but yesterday I was still kind of out of it too. So I think I was in that transition period, getting back into things. And then this morning I got a real good night's sleep last night. I woke up this morning just ready to go again, just ready to just start grinding, just start knocking shit off again. So for me, I usually try to listen to my energy, and sometimes I don't agree with it. Again, like last week, I had the anxiety for
Yeah.
lingering for a couple days. I'm like, where is this coming from? So just kind of listen to it, lean into it. Like, all right, well, we got to get this out of here. Nothing really major is bothering me, but I think it's more so like that I mentioned earlier. It's like, God, putting in all this effort and doing all this work, but I'm still not seeing the payday yet, which I know that it'll take longer timeline wise over the horizon to get to that point. But yeah, I just felt off, or a little kind of not like me. Whereas today, just getting right back into it. And I think routines are a good thing to do that too, which I normally stick to my routines. But I took 4 days off the gym too. It's like I just don't feel like going to the gym. I really
Yeah,
need to
which
just
is really
relax
weird.
and settle my mind and not put any stress on my body, because anxiety is really
Yeah,
just stress manifesting itself. And then today I had a, again, fantastic workout. Had my vocal lessons earlier, being have full vocal range again, which is nice. I haven't had that in a few weeks. I've been stressed out. When you're tensed, you can't sing for shit. So
yeah.
had a good session with my coach, and then got on this podcast, and it's like, all right, I was starting to kind of ease back into it. But that was
Well,
kind of my process.
yeah. Well, I think that actually just listening to you, listening to what you're talking about, and the fact that I know you is for you. It seems like an error of expectation. Like you expected it to be something that it wasn't, and that created
Yep.
that kind of. And I have the same kind of, and I like rep or like understands like. Um, I understand that, a lot of the things that I'm doing are going to take me months, if not years, in some cases to grow. Like I'm just now starting to see a strong early season, and I'm in year 4 of my business. I mean, really genuinely strong. Like, whoa, this could be good. Um, and I think that's probably the only example that I really have to rely on as far as longevity, as far as understanding, because I've never been a long-term relationship guy, even though I'm in one now. I've never been, stay at a job for 10 years, even though I've been in my business now for 8 years total, owned my company for 4. Um, Never been the type of guy who wanted to spend a year getting into shape. So I got into as good a shape as I could in 3 months and just dealt with it, and then got fat again and never
Mm-hmm.
did the bounce back and forth thing. So I think that it's just a matter of, it's a new, I'm going to talk about it this way. It's a new frontier. Like when you're looking at growing, when you're looking at getting to the next level as a human being, I part of the anxiety is not knowing where you're supposed to go, but being lost in the right direction,
Yep.
understanding that you don't know where the summit is. You don't know when you're going to be. It's all foggy. You're not going to peek over the summit, or you could at any moment, but you never know what moment that's going to be, and you lose some sort of, like, you lose some faith when you have this such a high expectation of yourself, when what, maybe for your journey, maybe there was somebody who did something similar to you that got super popular super fast for whatever reason, and
Girls did.
maybe.
Yeah. I started my channel with two of the girls that are pretty popular in their space, and we used to collaborate and whatnot. And they
Yeah.
have hundreds of thousands of followers to my what, 3K.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's I guess I can pull that apart from a third party perspective, just throwing it out there. Is you came from an audience that wasn't necessarily yours in the beginning,
Mhm.
and developed your persona off of it, and are growing into your own as far as the channel is concerned. So I think that lull you spoke of was only because a percentage of somebody else's audience came in the first, like in the very, very beginning, right?
Yeah.
And kind of propped up, 500 whatever subscribers, doesn't really matter.
I came out the
It's
gate
more
pretty
the,
gate pretty quick. Yeah, I got
yeah,
I think 1,000 in the first month or so, which is the first milestone for a YouTube channel. That's when you can
totally.
get monetized.
And I'm just talking about the concept, right? It's like it feels like when you kind of, this is why I love, my dad, right? As far as like, I didn't leave him, I just left Walla Walla, is because I was always going to be in his shadow. No matter what I did, I
Yep.
was always going to be compared to that. And that could be part of, I mean, that could be part of it. Maybe it isn't, but that could be part of the issue. And then just finding our own voices on the internet, whatever that means. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. I mean, at the end of the day, dude, I've changed. Like, I have my one business I've had for a while, but I've had 8 projects and tried 50 different things, and spent lots of money and went to lots of places and failed and failed and failed. And people think that's probably could be the next segue to this conversation, is like failure.
Hmm.
Like, failure isn't, like, people say, people are embarrassed to fail, but dude, it's daily. You get shit on daily. Like, if you're actually trying to do something,
Oh yeah. Yep. You sure
between
do.
money and people, the no's, the yeah, I'll do that, but never do, the
That one
I
drives me
will.
nuts the most. And that's a cultural thing here in
Yeah,
Mexico. I had that a lot of that last week too. Things like, all right, it's this day, we're doing this person's showing up or what have
right.
you in various aspects of my life. And then again, the whole country shuts down during like these like holy weeks or whatever. So
Sure.
that drove me nuts too, in terms of like, hey, I'll be there at 4, or oh, let's go do this on this day at this time. And just I had a whole week of just shit following through in my personal life outside of like the digital world. And yeah, that has always driven me nuts. I don't think I will ever get culturally used to that. As far as someone saying, "Hey, on this date at this time, we'll go to this place and do this thing," and then just, "Hey, how's it going?" You always have to confirm with people here because culturally, they're just
Yeah.
it's kind of like dealing with children. You
We
know,
have to do
gotta.
that here
Are you
too.
ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, yeah, let's go, let's go. Like, oh, hey, I'm on the way, and then like I'm ready to roll, and then just nothing, just days
Yeah.
of silence. I'm like, oh, you
I
fucking
understand.
assholes. So I
Well,
had a bit of that last week too.
yeah, that I mean that bro, that happens everywhere. That's not just Mexico. Like
Oh
Mexico,
yeah.
Mexico, they just do it unapologetically. America, they do it low key.
Yeah,
They'll just fuck you behind your back. Like they don't
exactly.
care.
Yeah.
But at least in Mexico, they're honest.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you know
You
they're
know
not
you're
going to
getting.
show up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I say that on
Like
the
fuck.
dating topics all the time, and like my buddy Moff, he'll say on his show, he's like, "Yeah, Jaron down in Mexico, like it's just kind of known that girls will be at least an hour late, so you just kind of adjust the
Sure.
time frame
Yeah.
because,
Totally.
and it's not necessarily their fault. Like traffic here is terrible, or when it starts raining, everything again shuts down, or recently the air traffic these last 2 weeks has been terrible here. Everyone's flights are delayed, they're all grounded, they're all screwed up, so I've had buddies coming in and out of town these last couple of weeks too, and all of their travel has been severely delayed. I'm going to throw a couple of comments up here real quick. Jake, lost in the right direction. I like that. Put some things into perspective. Yeah, right when that came out of your mouth, Steve, I liked that too. And then, by the way, I haven't forgot the client list I owe you. That's my
By the
offline
way, I
stuff.
do not own that. That was a meme I saw in like 2017.
Yeah.
Just saying, and it just works out. So yeah. Um, what was I going to say? I totally had something.
Oh, I can throw a comment up here. Actually,
Yeah,
a
sure.
guy I hang out with down here is in the chat. Hey, Peter, nice to see you. So, my friend confirmed a date with a girl several times here in Mexico, and on the way, there's 30 minutes before she cancels due to an excuse. How the gender is correct. That it is like dealing with children. Yeah, it is definitely true. We call it Mexican time. Boom, bingo. Yep,
That's
that's
funny.
that's what the gringos call it down here. And I'll tell girls I date too, like, hey, Mexican time or American time. For things like concerts, sporting events, flights. Guess what? We don't get to do Mexican time. And for me, luckily, I don't do those kinds of things with girls that have, unless they've clearly indicated that they can show up on time, or if they can't, that they're communicative about that. And a lot of times, again, they're not communicative. I had a girl I've been seeing for a couple months here, one of my main girls, and on Thursday I think we had plans, and then she's like, I'm like, hey, how you coming along, or como vas in Spanish, like how's it going, or how are you going, and and she's something like, oh yeah, I'm on my way right now, I'll let you know when I'm there. I'm like, all right, cool. And then didn't hear shit until Sunday. I'm like, all right, well that pisses me off. That's going to change things. So now, and if you guys follow my dating topics, you'll know this, but now like you're not in the main girl category anymore. You have to go into friends with benefits category because you can't follow plans. And she had done a good job up to that point, but like we can't do dinner reservations. I can't invite you to a concert. I can't invite you to a sporting event. I can't invite you out of town because if I have in the back of my head just that slightest doubt that you might just disappear for 3 days when we have plans, then I have to kind of recategorize you accordingly, which is unfortunate for her. But a
Oh,
lot of
fair.
girls I
I
think
mean,
prefer to.
that's absolutely fair. So,
Well, I see this on Rich's channel all the time. Like, not all girls want to be your girlfriend. Not all girls want that stuff. Sometimes they just want to come
I mean,
over and
why are you
smash.
trying to get a
So
girlfriend in the first place? I got one. It
yeah,
ain't that
exactly.
awesome,
Yep.
bro. Like,
Yeah. So in
bro,
this
I hate
in this
to say
particular
it, but
instance,
it's not that awesome.
yeah, in this
But
particular instance, I kind of screwed up there. I'm like, all right, now it's starting to feel like more like MLTR, which is multiple long-term relationship territory.
yeah,
And when girls get to that level, there's different expectations for them. So in my head, I'm like, all right, yeah, she's an MLTR, but with that, it proved to me, or it indicated to me, hey, Jaron, you miscategorized this girl. She needs to go back in the friends with benefits bucket, which I always tell the girls, hey, next time you're free in the moment, let me know. If I'm free too, you can come over. And they know exactly what that means. I get shit all the time when I say stuff like that on Rich's channel, but not all girls want to be placed in that bucket of owing you some kind of commitment or the responsibility that goes with it. A lot of girls just like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, can I come over? And then they just come over and smash and they leave, and they put themselves in those own categories.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like the kind of the lost, ironically, no pun intended, the lost in the right direction, right? Because people think that they have to understand. I'm just totally switching gears because we could go
No,
on
dude,
this for
you're
months
good.
and months and months. But I feel like the lost in the right direction concept is find something you're interested in, whatever it is. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, I like golf, so I bet on golf. Whatever. You know, Jaron likes guitar, so he fucking sings and plays guitar. Like, find something that you enjoy and go that way. Like, it's as you can go as basic as that. Is if you think about it for any more than 10 minutes a day and you have a happy thought while you're thinking about it, you should probably do some version of pursuing that. Like, from the most basic perspective. Like, don't go going all in. I mean, you can if you're the type of person and you have a high risk tolerance, but like, if you find something you enjoy and you're okay with failing at it because you think it's awesome and it doesn't matter because it makes you feel the best you've ever felt in your life, go fucking do it. Like, that's the resilience. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I didn't even read the title of this motherfucker before we rolled in here. So
well, even like this last week, I mentioned I felt a little off, and so I took a break from the gym for 4 days. My throat was kind of screwed up because the air quality here is terrible. One thing that I did on my video I did last April, like 10 reasons to move to Mexico City. I should probably do a video of 10 reasons not to, because a lot of times you don't realize things will piss you off until you actually live there, until you're locked into at least like, oh, the air quality. Having polluted air really fucking sucks when you
it's not
sting.
good.
You know,
It was
it's
windy
terrible.
outside and I got the sniffles, so I understand. I understand
Oh,
how bad it can get.
it's rained the last couple of days, which is fantastic because then I can
Yeah,
breathe again. Everything clears up. I'm like, oh,
absolutely.
I can actually hear myself think. Well, this is fantastic. But, um, but yeah, that was one of the things where I realized, okay, well, I felt a little off, and in doing so, I noticed even today when I went to like my singing class earlier, in terms of that I haven't done anything musically in like a week or so. So this morning I was still feeling a little better, got out of bed, ready to hit the day, get right back into my routine. Again, guys, I think routines are really important because you kind of need that baseline or just something to go back to kind of keep you all together. So got up today, like, all right, I'm going to seize the day on my routine. That's normally how I am every day. But again, this last week or so is just a little off. And after playing music for a little bit earlier this afternoon, I realized, oh, okay, yeah, I that really makes me feel good. It makes me feel better. It just kind of wakes me up, and I've had that thought in my head, like, hey, you know, should I just stop the music thing entirely? Should I put the guitar down again? Because like I'm not going to be a professional musician by any means, but it's something I enjoy doing. But right when I do it, I'm walking around the house and I'm whistling and I'm singing and I'm just kind of bopping my head and having a good time. Like, no, I think I need that. I'm not going to dedicate my entire life to it, but I think it is something that if I spend, there's a few things. A few days without going to the gym, a few days with a crappy diet, a few days of not sleeping well, a few days of not doing music, and a few days of not getting laid, all of that at once, then I am going to be a bit off. I'm not going to be in my normal wavelength. You're not muted.
Sorry.
Oh no, yeah, no, you're good.
I
I was going to say
I need to mute the other way.
yeah, like on the top 10% call a couple weeks ago, or no, it wasn't a 10% call. It was like a post. It was Bentley's post show. Yeah, yeah, with you and the girl. That was pretty funny. But yeah, in summation of my point, like, yeah, every now and then, like, you don't feel like doing the things that you normally do, and a lot of things that I do that I enjoy doing that make me feel alive and make me feel like myself. Sometimes I'm like, well, it's not really pushing the needle forward. For me, the focus is, you know, growing the channel, growing the business, growing my income. I want to do a lot more travel this year. I travel all the damn time, but I want to travel further. So I go to LA a lot. I go to Miami a lot. I go all over Mexico a lot. I'll be in El Salvador at some point this summer, probably Panama again, but I want to do Europe. I want to do Asia. I want to do South America. And for that, okay, well, I need to scale my income a little bit more. So that's been my concerted focus for a while. So I've started putting off other things like, all right, maybe I don't need to see girls all the time. Maybe I don't need to play guitar every day. Maybe I can take 4 days off the gym and focus on doing this first digital course that I've been talking about for months. And then I find myself during the weekend, like, why am I off? I don't feel like myself. What the hell's going on here? I'm like, oh, I've deviated just far enough from like my normal operating system to where I should feel off. That is expected when you're not falling into the framework. But also the question comes into my head sometimes, and I don't know if this happens to you too, Steve, where you're like, well, do I want to keep doing this? I mean, do I want to keep getting late all the time? Do I want to keep playing music all the time? Do I want to go to the gym every day, or do I want to lift weights once a week, full body workout, have a yoga day, have a couple bike ride days, and then maybe just a
And
few days of
chill.
just not doing anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot. That's kind of why I subscribe to such a weird kind of exercise thing. I do calisthenics a lot, and I don't typically do like steady state 45 minutes of cardio anymore. I go for like 4 to 7 mile walks. Like I would just got back from one, just roll around outside barefoot through a park, no shirt on, just a weird dude like
Mhm.
that, just like creepy middle aged dude that doesn't know where his fucking clothes are. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
that guy officially. I didn't even
You have to
realize I
stay
was
away
that
from
guy till like
elementary
2 minutes.
schools. Yeah, be careful what you say there.
Yeah. Yeah, just rolling through the neighborhood park. We got a bunch of parks in our yeah, a bunch of neighborhood parks. And so, yeah, I do that a lot. Try to get out in the sunshine fucking randomly. Like, I try to get like 100 push ups in a day. So I'll get up in the morning, do 25, and then like 4 hours later, I'll do 25. So you can kind of, when you do it right, you can kind of incorporate if you're going to just be generally, if you're just generally going to exercise, you can incorporate that into your day and you don't have to do it. And I think you don't have to necessarily go to the gym and go bodybuild and do bicep curls and shit
No,
like that. You can go fucking climb trees and do push-ups. Like,
I haven't done that in a while, but for
yeah,
even things like cardio, like if I have a girl come over and we have a pretty
yeah,
intensive
fucking perfect,
session or
dude.
sessions all
Yeah,
night, and then I
totally.
fast all day, that's cardio.
Oh,
I spent
100%.
I spent 4 days out of the gym, but I got a lot leaner too because I wasn't eating as much. When you don't weight
Yeah.
train, you're not that hungry really.
Yeah, totally. And like on Sundays I go and walk 9 or 18 holes of golf. So like I'll go burn a whole
Yep.
fucking day. I'll go burn a whole week's worth of deficit calories in one round just because I'm walking around with walking 7 miles with a 25-pound bag on my back. But doing the walks every day, doing the push-ups, doing the whatever, and then if I want to go to the gym, I'll go to the gym and do some accessory work or do whatever. It really doesn't matter to me. I don't. I try to do the moderation thing because if I go extreme, I'll stop doing it. I'll stop
Yep.
doing it entirely. If I can kind of incorporate it, that's why I like having my business and my life kind of like mixed together. It just works really, really fucking well that way for me specifically. But I do have a regimen too, and I forgot what the question was. I think I was still on it a little bit, but
Oh no, no, you're definitely good. These conversations that kind of evolve organically, but I think in your last statement that kind of solves maybe what I was experiencing this last week or so, roughly, in the sense that I get an idea like, all right, we got to go balls to the wall on this, and I'm a quick student too. I like to figure things out as fast as
yeah,
possible. I
me
don't
too.
like to fuck around. I hate inefficiencies. I'm very guys that have stayed with me here for like a week at a time, they'll be like, bro, you're OCD. I'm like, oh, you noticed? Like
Yeah, no
I have
shit.
very specific systems and very specific ways I do things, and I don't like deviation. It fucking drives me nuts. But all of a sudden I get this idea like, all right, I'm gonna put all my focus into this for the next whatever the time frame is, go balls to the wall on that. And then as I mentioned earlier, start things that I do daily just to kind of keep me centered, slowly start letting those things go away. And then all of a sudden you find out like you're burned out. You're like, all right, I put in this monumental effort. I'm not seeing the rewards, or at least that, okay, time in or input equals output, or there might be like a certain multiplier to it. So for example, oh, I put 40 hours into this project, ergo that it should have resulted this outcome, but it didn't, or it's not there
Expectation.
yet, or it's still, yeah, and it's still in motion, and I have to just give it life and nurture it. And then I think that's the point where I kind of feel like I run into a brick wall. I'm just like, why am I so tired? Why am I off? I don't quite get it. But that last thing you said, I think that kind of
I
sums
got a
up maybe
question
what I
though.
was going through. Yeah,
So
what's up?
when you're doing it, because I understand you're a results oriented person, right? I'm a results oriented person too. That's why we get into these states where we have some pseudo depression in the moment, where we're like just trying to figure it out to get through that moment to get back to whatever no crazy fucking normal that we roll. Um, when you're doing this stuff, imagine saying it's like a 40-hour project, which isn't that crazy for either of us. You Are you looking? just to get to the end of that project because you want the result when you're doing
Um,
it.
there's a bigger picture. So there's things that so for example, things that I need to do now that'll take a considerable amount of my time that need to get done before other things can be done. And again, I usually think in terms of at least a year out. Usually I think in terms of like 2 to 3 years out. And then there's a longer term vision, like where am I going to be in 15 years? Where am I going to be in 20 years? Or where am I going to be at the end of my life? But that vision is not very clear, but it's more like, okay, for example, here I've been in this apartment for 6 months. Lease is up in the next 6 months. About 6 months out, I start thinking like, do I want to stay here another year? Do I want to move again? That's kind of a hassle. If I move again, am I going to move somewhere else in Mexico City? Am I going to move to Guadalajara? Maybe I want to leave Mexico. Do I want to go right to somewhere like maybe Colombia, Panama, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay? Or do I want to do the digital nomad thing again? Well, if I do the digital nomad thing again, that means that I have to collapse everything down to a laptop and a real minimalist lifestyle, which means my little, my new camera and my mic and my whole office setup. Well, that has to go away. My big screen TV has to go away. My records have to go away again. My guitars have to go away. So do I want to do that? So these
Maybe.
ideas start coming in your head too. They like everything in your life kind of impacts other areas of your life. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think
totally.
sometimes more too. It's like, all right, I need to grow the channel. I need to grow my income. I'm at a place where I'm comfortable. Even if I do nothing, I will continue my life where it's at right now very comfortably. But, and Steve, this has been a recurring theme with you and I since I think our first conversation. We got beers to see if we are going to be good
Ever.
roommates.
Literally, like the third word he's ever said to me. I
Yeah,
already know what he's gonna say.
yeah, complacency. Whereas when I got this place, I felt pretty good. I'm like, hell yeah, I've got good income. I've got a high rise apartment in Mexico City. Like, I'm absolutely crushing it. Six
Blah
months
blah
into this,
blah. That's
the
what it
six
feels
months
like.
into it, I'm like, oh, my life sucks. Like, that's the feeling in my gut. Like, oh, what a terrible existence. I'm like, well, no, 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 Jaron, you've done a good job and you're exactly where you wanted to be 2 to 3 years ago. But I'm thinking in terms of where I want to be 2 or 3 years from now. And am I doing the things now that will get me there? So when there is a setback in the moment, if I burn a week, if I burn a 40-hour creative block, if I develop something and I launch it and it doesn't pan out, then it's like, well, shit. Then in my mind, it has a trickle effect to where it's going to screw up a lot of stuff for me. And then it comes to that question: well, is this even what I want to do? Like, do I want to just burn it all down to the ground and then start from anew again, or are there elements that I can salvage or sacrifice? So
Really
I think
interesting.
yeah. So I think it starts to get a little existential, where day to day, I lived the life exactly how I wanted, but that was the vision I had years ago. I'm now 6 months living this day to day reality. I'm busted ass. I'm doing a lot of other stuff, but there's like that engagement point. Like when you're driving a manual transition or transmission, every single car, every single clutch is a bit differently. Like where's that engagement point to where I'm going to start seeing, okay, now I'm being propelled into the next chapter, the next level of my life. And I think that those thoughts definitely went through my head these last few days too.
So, do you find yourself having and you're probably gonna answer my question too, or not my question, my thought. When's the last time you practiced mindfulness?
I did quite a bit of meditation this weekend. So yeah, whenever I'm down, uh, definitely
That's
spend some time myself, do some actual
yeah,
meditation. Did some lucid dreaming this weekend, which was nice. I'm normally
that's always
naturally a
fun.
lucid dreamer, but I haven't been doing it lately. Did a little bit of astral projection, although I'm not that good at it anymore.
We used
But
to
yeah,
do that too when we
did a
first
lot
lived
of
together.
meditation,
We're
meditative slash
fucking
spirit.
weirdos.
Yeah, did a lot of meditation and spiritual work this weekend. So
Yeah,
that kind of helps you. That gives you clarity, so to speak.
yeah. I find myself. I tend to once I get over a hump, I have this. I have this like little. I feel like it's about right here that like once I get going on something, I'll get step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 done, and I'll have this vision and a goal and like all this other stuff, and I'll see how to get to that goal, and it'll be clear as fuck, and I'll be super motivated, just like this last project, and I'll get to that seventh step, and I'll realize, fuck, I don't even remember the 40 hours that I put into this, like does it really mean that much to me? Like, what
Yeah.
am I really doing? Do I want to do this like this specifically? And
Mm-hmm.
like, do I really want to do this from a entrepreneur perspective or a hobby perspective or a
We answered each
personal
other's
life?
questions. That's the exact
Yeah,
right before you said it, that thought popped in my head. Like, that's my key issue. Like, do I want to keep doing this? Like, Do I want to be a digital nomad still? Do I want to live abroad still? I mean, the answer is obviously yes. When I have that inner dialogue with myself,
But is
but
it? That's the
yeah,
question. But is it?
yeah,
Because we both have the same syndrome. That's why you're one of my best friends. Is we both have that. We don't want to like it's not about whether you stay somewhere for 2 years or 10 years or whatever. It's not about even marriage, kids, or anything like that. It's about getting as much done before you don't have any more time to do it, to experience it, especially younger. Like once you're older, you don't travel as much and you don't travel as well, really. You just get more exhausted and it's just a painful experience. But like I heard Tom Bilyeu say this earlier on a podcast or talk he was doing. He said the one, again, I'm not going to, don't quote me, but he said something along the lines of, the biggest thing I wrestle with is that I have to choose one thing when I want to do everything.
yep. That's
And
what it
that
is.
it's like he said, it's such a it's a debilitating anxiety against the fact that I can't do everything that I want to do, and I have to come to terms with the fact that I won't be able to do everything that I want to do ever in my entire life. And they still haven't found a way to make me live forever. So it appears as if at this point I'm going to die someday, and that
Mhm.
I want to do all of this stuff, but I don't have the time to do all of this stuff. I have all the resources, all the money, all the people, all the everything, but I don't have the time to do all of this stuff, the meaningful projects on top of all of the other things that he wants to learn. And that's where that's what I have, because I understood that dreadful fact at a very young age, like a really, really young age. And it was almost like probably should have saw a therapist for it. But then as an adult, I look at it and it kind of makes everything, it puts everything into a perspective. Like we're not going through that much pain no matter what we go through. It's not real.
That's why I mentioned earlier, like sometimes like I'll get anxiety over the fact that I have anxiety because my life's awesome. Objectively, if I step outside of myself and look at the life I've designed for myself on paper, I have no reason to complain. I have no reason to bitch. I see some guys from the top 1%, top 10% group here in the chat, and I'll get their comments up here in a second. But in one of the
Yeah.
top in one of the private chats over the weekend, I was mentioning that in terms of that, I deal sometimes, especially like in my dating life, with the overabundance factor. Like years ago, you're at the point where like, all right, I'm not in the best relationship, or maybe I'm not dating the girls I want, or maybe I can't get the retention I want, or maybe I'm not getting the experiences I want. But in certain areas of my life, kind of like the fitness thing too, I'm about to my goal weight. I probably have like 2 pounds of body fat left, but I'm pretty close, and it's pretty easy for me to do it because I've done it so many times in my
I think I
life.
might have figured it
To
out.
to the point where it's like, all right, I can do anything I want to do, and that leaves almost too many options, like
Yeah,
that paralysis
that's
by
your problem.
analysis.
Is that before you were effectively tunneled into one
Yeah.
option. It was like when I started losing weight, the
Well,
only thing I had to think about was lose weight.
you make necessity your virtue.
Well, you have to
Uh huh.
until you get to that point. It's like running down. It's literally like a cow running out of a truck and having to run down an alleyway until he gets to the open field. He doesn't know when he's going to get to the open field. He just knows if he keeps going that way, he's either going to die or he's going to get there.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, like that's what's going to happen. He's either going to croak out before then, and he probably doesn't understand that concept, but he's going to get to the end of, he's going to get to whatever, I don't even know what the fuck you call that, and we raise some cows, and but he's going to get to the end of that, and then he's going to be free, right? And that's what we're all doing at the end of the day. We're running with blinders on our face, hoping that the direction that we're going is the correct direction, when
Hmm.
none of us really fucking know. But the reality is, we've been in an open field this entire fucking time. We put the blinders on ourselves.
Yep. And the further you go, the further you realize you're away from home, not necessarily in the physical sense, but home in terms of who you consider yourself to be previously, or whatever that set point of those goal points are. So that idea, that identity that you've crafted for yourself, when you start moving in a new direction, and the further you go down that path, you're like, all right, do I even recognize myself anymore, or am
I'm
I
not
who I
supposed
am
to.
now, or am I more of who I was before? And like sometimes previous versions of yourself will come to the surface. You're like, all right, like how the hell did I end up here? What am I doing? And then again, you'll take a step back, put yourself in the observer role, look at things objectively, like, all right, at some point I went through the decision making process. I started putting things in motion in my life to get to exactly where I'm at today. I do have momentum moving forward into the future, but again, it's one of those things like lost in the right direction that you mentioned, like head in the right direction, but like, what does that look like? At what point am I going to get some clarity? Like, I know I'm moving in the right direction. I know I will get there eventually, but is it what I want to do? Or am I doing the right things? Or
Are
once I
you?
get there, am I going to find myself exactly like I am now? You know me personally. The answer is yes. I'll celebrate for a few months, then I'll feel like a piece of shit. And I'm like, I want more. I want more. What's
Yeah.
next?
No, that's 100%. The question we have to ask ourselves, and really, really, really is, everybody wants clarity. We want to understand what we're supposed to do with our lives, but the world is as clear as you make it. Like, and that sounds so cheesy coming out of my mouth, but if you really like think about how that actually works itself out, is like the world is your perspective. You create it. You choose what it is. At the end of the day, like, anything can be anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Any experience can be anything to anybody. You make choices based off of your past self. You're not the same person today as you woke up and or as you went to bed yesterday. It's just not possible. You're growing like
Mm-hmm.
constantly. There's something changing about you every day, all the time, continuously. As we go through this conversation, everybody in this conversation has changed. And that's we tend to put ourselves in those boxes, and my analogy or my metaphor, I don't even know what the fuck either of those words mean, but the blinders are the box you put yourself in. You realize you've been running in a straight line because all you could see was right in front of you, but you've been running free this entire time. You've just
Mm-hmm.
been imprisoned in your mind. You've been running in a straight line in between your ears. That's it. The world is all around you. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do and go through the struggles you want to go through and experience the things you want to experience. That's on you, and it's only on you.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to pop into the comments here for a second, clear them out. Guys, if you have anything you want to add, comment wise, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, whatever platform you're viewing us or listening to us on. And then also, if you want to get up here and join the discussion, there's a link.
Yeah,
Says join
absolutely.
the live discussion. Click on that link. It'll bring you backstage, and we can get you on up here too for those who are willing to do so. So we have Justice, member of the top 10% group. I just got a picture of a 10K job I've been waiting all winter for. Someone else apparently started the job today. Oh, that
Been
drives me
there
nuts.
before.
That shit drives me nuts.
I've been doing a contractor, right?
Business, relationships, friendships, any sort of opportunity. Yeah, that drives me
I should have
absolutely
been.
insane because you're,
Dude,
you're waiting.
I've
Yeah,
probably lost $10 million worth of jobs like that in my entire life, in my construction career.
yeah, it drives me nuts. You already have all the details dialed in. You're ready to go. You're just waiting for
Yep,
whatever bottleneck it is. It's usually on the other person's end, and then they'll never call you and tell you. You'll see it like on social media. They'll post something or put it on their website or send out like a marketing email or something. Like, oh, gl- glad to see that you went ahead and went
glad
forward
to
with
see
this
you
without me.
hired.
Or
What the
especially
fuck?
especially too when they're like executing it to your plan or your specs, or you're like, wait, these
Yeah,
ideas came from my head. You just effectively cut me out of the entire project. Yeah, that pit
absolutely.
that pisses me off.
I mean, I can't say that that's necessarily happened to me before, but I can say that some of the things that I have discussed openly at a party of sorts has been
Mhm.
um, yeah, come to fruition without me involved. So, maybe it was my idea, maybe I'm just unoriginal or something.
It,
It's
it's like
very
when you know
possible.
it's like when you know that you're going to get let go from a full-time job, like you're the lead of a department or a project or certain
Yeah,
projects, and then all of a sudden you stop getting CC'd on emails. They stop inviting you to meetings that pertain to that project. Like, wait, this is my project, and then new things come up and they don't keep you in the loop. You're like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be let out of here at some point in the near future. Let's see. I got another comment. Aaron went to Shanghai in the year 2000, and even the air quality was junk, but I didn't even notice it. Yeah, I don't usually notice it too much, but I think when that's all you breathe for an extended amount of time, you do
you
get
eventually
acclimated. You
figure it out.
you do get used to it, but whenever I
Yeah,
travel, I go to the coast or like the altitude's crazy here too. We're almost 2 miles above sea level. Like people talk
yeah.
about Denver being high altitude, like oh Denver's
Don't
Denver's at
even
the same
fucking
level as
start with me.
Guadalajara. Mexico City is way up here. We're
Yeah,
7,200 feet, 8,300
you
feet,
probably
something
had a
crazy like that, like
worse.
a mile and a half.
You probably have it worse than I had it
Bad
even
air.
when I lived in Tokyo. Yeah, when I lived in Tokyo, it was pretty bad too. And but we were sea level, and it was pretty windy for the most part. So
Yeah.
I don't really think that it was really. I mean, it was bad. Like you could see it. It was like brown air, basically, a lot of times, especially during peak traffic and shit like that. So you could tell it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
But
it's hazy here, like a
yeah,
silver
yeah, that's
haze.
kind of what I'm. That's yeah.
Good strain. Let's see. Jake, do you find you get major momentum back once you start getting a few wins, accomplishments under your
Nope.
belt? Yes. Oh, for me, yeah. Yeah, for me,
Nope.
I find that. I find I lose a lot of motivation when I don't feel like I'm moving the needle.
You know, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think that's
I
what I
have
think
something
that's
for this.
yeah, I think that's what I went through this last week where like I'm putting in the effort, I'm doing a ton of new stuff, I'm getting the ball rolling, I'm getting momentum going, but I'm not seeing the results yet. So it's kind of like Steve, you recently got on like a weight loss plan. It's like when you have a lot of weight to lose, you can see you're losing the weight on the scale, but you look in the mirror and you still see fat. It's not until like the very end. Like
Yeah,
I've got like 2 pounds left until I'm absolutely shredded. Or no, what am I? Maybe 5 pounds, but it depends on water too. But
show off.
I'm I'm in the very end where like I'm at the very end of that cutting phase to where I will see more progress between today and tomorrow than I did between the first few weeks because like the details all kind of get dialed in at the end there, if that makes sense or if that's an appropriate analogy.
So, my side of this, do you find you get major momentum back once? No, because I am. Thank you.
Oops,
I
yeah,
am
put it
a
back
do. I am. I have. How am I going to say this? I'm a dopamine addict. So whenever I do something, it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. I just get it done and move on. I have a goal, I hit it, I move on. I have a goal, I hit it, I move on. And I think that's partially due to the fact that I have a combination of I stubborn slash I think I can pretty much do anything that I put my mind to in combination with gross
I know I can,
insecurities.
and that
Well,
causes
it's I
anxiety
know I
too.
can with a
Yep.
if I don't do this, I'm going to feel extremely terrible about myself because
Hmm.
a lot of them quote unquote moving the needle. So I guess in a way moving the needle, but the reality is, um, I could be worth $1 billion. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to go for 1.2 or I'm going to go for 2 at that point, or I'm going to look for more relationships, dude. I actually believe that it's more of a I just know that no matter what I do, this is going to be what I do to some degree until somebody throws dirt on top of me. Like I won't be able to ever
Yep.
stop working because I get depressed. So I think that it's more of a management of my emotion, of my emotional, my work system, maybe even my ego too, as much as it is the wins and accomplishments. I think the wins and accomplishments just get in the way of you doing work at the end of the day, for me specifically. And I mean, I can't say I've even accomplished that much in particular, but yeah, for me, it's the little stuff is like, oh, cool, I made a list. What a guy, you know. I can,
Yeah.
that's not going to be something that I think I would think that somebody who had their shit together would do that, and then I kind of compare myself to incomparable people sometimes too, which gives me imposter syndrome, and then the carousel goes.
That happens a lot where I'll see people that in certain areas of my life, I'm like, all right, I'd like to be more like that person. Or like, okay, they have this area figured out that I don't quite have figured out yet. And then you get closer to them, you get to know them, you kind of start to take a look at how the sausage is made, so
Yeah,
to speak. And then you realize, and then you get on yourself more. You're like, well, this guy's getting the results, but I'm doing something similar. I'm doing something even maybe better on my end, but there might be now that you go back internally, is there a piece of the puzzle missing? Is there something I'm not quite getting right? Is there something I have out of alignment here? Because comparing myself to this person, and again, I know there's a debate whether you should or you shouldn't. I'm kind of on both sides. I compare myself to myself, but if I want to get to a level that I've never been before, then how the hell am I going to know how to get there? I need a starting point or some kind of a baseline. So I'll look at models that have worked for other people. I'll start incorporating them, and then by the time I get there, I'll have my own methodology, my own way of doing things. But that
yeah,
happens to me. That happens to me a lot too. I'll run into people and start get to know them a little bit more, and you're like, all right, you've got an area of your life figured out, or you're interested in this specific thing that I'm starting now to get interest in. What are you doing differently than me? And you're like, oh, we're not doing anything differently, but you're getting the results and I'm not. And conversely, People do the same thing to me, like areas of my life that I have figured out, like, oh, it's just so easy for you. I'm like, well, no, like, yeah, it is now. It's really easy to maintain complacency, but it's really
100%.
hard to get there at first. And then I think that's the key too. Like once I've been at a certain level for a while, stacking the
Yeah.
deck to get to the next level. And my life never improves in a linear fashion. It's always ups and downs. And then all of a sudden I'm at one level. And then one day I wake up and I'm like 10 levels ahead. I'm just like, and it just happens. Rich Cooper talks about all the time, like all these overnight successes you see. What people don't see is the 20 years of them doing the same thing and just it not working. And then dialing in that one last little detail where it's like, boom, revelation. Now I'm at a whole new level with a whole new set of rules.
Well, I mean, imagine. I mean, look at us like pretending to be philosophers here, right? 12 years ago, we were fucking down in beers with college girls in our basement talking
Doing the
dumb
same
shit.
thing. We had the same types of conversations, though.
Yeah, we had the same types of conversations. We were just way more moronic in our conversations and way more irresponsible. So I think that a lot of that a lot of the results, especially in, I would just call this entertainment or infotainment in a
I
way.
like that term. Yeah, that's what I call it.
Infotainment is probably the best word to describe what we're talking about now. But I think a lot of the information comes with maturity more than anything, and that's why a lot of these people don't pop until they're in their 30s, late 20s, early 30s, even into their 40s, because they may have been talking about the shit for 20 years, but their delivery was just fucking juvenile and just in the most proper manner, right? Like maybe they just said some shit a way that people thought was not the right way or something, and then eventually, right? Because you typically like you'll capture an early audience and then grow slowly and grow slowly, and then eventually the type of person you are will just pop the fuck off, or you won't, and you'll just be a 800 subscriber YouTuber forever, which would stink.
Which to defeat my own point that I just literally got done making. So in my
Love
life,
it.
things usually don't grow in a linear fashion, but my YouTube channel is with the new subscribers. It's just linear, just
Yeah,
a
that's not your
hand.
fault though. I don't think that's your
Yeah,
fault.
no,
I don't know.
I've showed you in the
I think
post
it's
shows.
absolutely
I've
your
showed you the
fault in the
metrics. Yeah.
beginning, from the actual content perspective. But the
Mhm.
fact that they shadow banned you or whatever, that's not on you as far as making that decision.
Oh, I had plenty of screenshots like, oh, like 1,000 views in the first hour and like a 12% click through rate and 80% engagement rate, which is like the time viewed of a video for like shorter videos. And even
Oh
these
yeah,
long streams that we get pretty good engagement rate for them in
yeah,
terms of like a 3 hour stream. If people watch for an hour and 15 minutes, that's actually really good
yeah.
for
It's a
longer
long
form
time.
type
It's a
content.
long fucking time to listen to two morons talk.
Right. But I'll look at all the metrics and literally I'll see it just boom spike straight up and then just cap.
Yeah,
Not a single view after that
the
first hour.
weirdest
I'm just like,
thing.
damn it, yeah. Like, all right, I know the algorithm doesn't work that way because I have been consulting for my entire career and I've built channels before. I've launched brands and I've overseen that. So I think you and I've been talking offline, but I think I'm at the point now. It's like, all right, I want to hire an agency to do all this shit for me. Like, I'd rather just go live and plan the content and do cool stuff, and then
I like doing this shit where we can actually just talk about like actually what we're going through, because sometimes people try to go to algo, like they go heavy algo,
yeah,
and it
I've
doesn't,
never
it's
really
not
been that way.
authentic at all. It doesn't
I
feel
mean,
authentic.
after this video, I'll go back through. I'll make sure that all the tags are put correctly. I'll make sure all the
Mhm.
best practices are in place. So maybe that'll give me a bit more of a bump in the right direction. But like, it's not going to be a breakout video or anything by those means. And
I
I
mean,
have a hard time too. Like I mentioned earlier, you'll compare yourself to other people. So as it pertains to this topic, I'll look at other things that are trending out there. Like, dude, go on TikTok and just look at the videos that show up in their feed. They're all fucking retarded. They're all so stupid. And you're like, all right, but this bitch has like 2 million followers and she's famous. And it's like it's some fat chick just like moving her ass in
it's
front
the
of a
shot.
mirror. And
It's the
like the
shot.
lighting's not even that good.
The
Or the
average
music
person who
sucks.
watches short form videos like that has a sub 100 IQ easy. Most
Yeah.
people do in the first place. And they're not looking for somebody to blow their fucking mind. They're looking to be entertained until they fall asleep to go back to and wake up to go
Dopamine
back to
hit.
their shitty ass life. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
at the end of the day, you can't expect to be a major hit if you're talking about fucking flow states and astral projection. Like that shit's for weirdies. Just like, dude, it's
Me.
and I mean, like over time maybe we could become some fucking country bumpkin Russell Brand types, but like that's gonna take time, and we're gonna have to find our own flavor in the game at the end of the day. And it's just a matter of talking about shit and just being real. Because I'm not fucking, I can't speak to half of the shit that is in the algorithm anymore. Can't do it. I just don't have the bones for it. It's fucking obnoxious.
I've done that before, like, and some of my videos that do better, I have planned them out. So like 10 reasons to move to Mexico City, or
Yeah,
51
that shit.
indicators of interest, or like 10 things to stop doing today, things like that. But it takes way more time, effort, and commitment to do something like that than it is like, hey, Jaron, why'd you move to Mexico City? Here, get on a stream for 3 hours and we'll talk about
Bitches.
it. Because yeah, there's better countries actually for that. Yeah, a lot of people say that, like, oh, you just moved there for the chicks.
I know.
I'm like, dude, the hottest and easiest chicks are not in Mexico City. If I went just for chicks, Medellin, Colombia, they're super hot and they're easy.
Yeah.
They're super easy. Yeah. Which I do. I had a Colombian here last night, but I've been seeing her for like 6 months. But yeah, she's a little cutie.
What
But
a nice guy you are.
yeah, right.
What a gentleman. Oops.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But
Yeah. No, there's
people get confused over that a lot. Oh, you just moved there for the chicks. I'm like, no, there's hotter chicks and places
no.
that are
I moved
cheaper.
here.
And
I moved here because there's access to hotter chicks. They're just closer 3 countries away rather than
yeah, right.
fucking
Yeah, you can import them.
10 countries away. That's so funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
my hottest chicks here, yeah, they're all imported. They come from other parts of Mexico or Latin America.
Well, Mexico City is really interesting because it's like Tokyo, but for South America. Like Tokyo's like that part of the world.
It's
It's
a
pretty
major
cool.
hub. Yeah, everyone comes through
Major
here.
hub. And for anybody who doesn't understand that concept, Mexico City, Tokyo, London, New York, and now Miami, those are all
They're like
Paris.
Class A global cosmopolitan cities.
Those are you can go find anybody from anywhere in those motherfuckers quick.
I had a friend this morning telling me, she's like, Mexico City was weird last week because everyone who lives and works here, they all left, and then a lot of tourists came in town. She's like, Mexico City was weird. It was like we were in the United States. I'm like, yeah, it's like when I lived in California, if you go to any park, I remember last time I went to 4th of July, went to like a park, I think I was in San Diego, went to a park and I saw all Mexican flags, heard all Mexican music, just a bunch of Mexicans playing soccer and shit.
That's my favorite.
And I'm like, oh, it's 4th of July. Like, where are all the American people? And then it's the opposite down here when it's like a country holiday and everyone leaves the city and goes back to where they came from, because Mexico's kind of like the U.S. too, and most countries in the world are this way too, where people migrate to the cities because more opportunities. But like a lot of times, the extended family, their roots are out in more rural areas, so everyone left town.
Right.
And my friend this morning, she's like, yeah, it's like it was like I was in the U.S. I didn't have to leave Mexico. I was like, it's funny you say that because during American holidays, it's exactly the same. There's no Americans. There's always immigrants that are out and about doing stuff.
Yeah, because Americans are all in their garages getting drunk, lighting off fireworks, hitting on each other's wives and shit.
I do the same thing. Like when I lived in San Diego, I'd pop up home for the major holidays. For Christmas, I'm usually home. I think I might go home for Memorial Day or Labor Day. We usually do a summer
always lived in
get-together
those
with my
cities though that
family.
people aren't from. Like you've always lived in the cities where
I've always
people
lived in
aren't from.
transient cities. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't even really think about that because 4th of July here is 4th of July. Like there's some holy vanilla. This place is super patriotic for sure.
And I think that might be, we mentioned this in the pre-show, I think that might be to some degree why my energy was off too, because again, you start having these existential questions. Like it's a major holiday, everyone's out doing stuff, and I'm here, and they're really they have like really strong family ties and social ties here. And I've got a good friend group here too. And, I've got my digital buddies that, a lot of them are my real friends in real life, but we converse via a screen or digitally mediated form of communication. But it's to the point where like, all right, everyone, like family stuff is in the air all around me. And I'm here by myself with the other foreigners that, have left their families for whatever odd reason. And part of that starts to come up in you again. I have this happen anytime there's a major holiday here. It's like, well, it would be nice to see my family more. Like, am I doing the right thing living here? But there have been times where I've spent extended amount of time in my hometown, and I always look forward to seeing my family. I love them to death. We're real close, but I'll go home, maybe get to see a day or two of them, and then everyone's back to their own lives. So I'm like, all right, well, now I'm in a town I grew up in that I never liked from the day from the day we moved there when I was a small kid. Like I was counting down the days until the day I was going to leave. The only reason I go there is to see my family. Okay, yeah,
Yep.
we got like a good dinner and like we open Christmas presents, but by noon everyone's on their cell phones, and then by that evening everyone's going back to their regular lives. And I've got like 2 days left in town, so I do have that like urge where it's I'd like to see my family more, but really if I lived closer to them, I still wouldn't see them any more than I already am, and that's more of a cultural
Yeah.
thing, and I think the cultural thing affects you too because down here everyone's all about family. It's for any mild excuse. The same friend this morning we were joking about like all the crazy Mexican holidays. They have like Day of the Taco and Day of the Kid, and she's like, "Oh, you don't have Day of the Kid in the U.S.?" I'm like, "No, I used to ask my parents that when I was a kid. And they're like, every day is Day of the Kid when you're parents, but down here they celebrate it. So I think there's that degree of that too. That and it's probably why I've always been attracted to the more Hispanic cultures because they do have really strong relationships. And I hate to
Yeah.
say it, but like white Americans, we just don't.
No, I mean, look, there's places that do, and there's cultures that do in America, but there's subculture, and I don't want to say that. Like we just have like America. Okay, like God, I'm gonna get banned for this. America's bullshit. Like there's no standard any like Christmas. Christmas is a fucking pagan holiday. Easter is a pagan holiday. I'm sorry, like it just all is. As far as I know, if I'm wrong, fuck me, right? But like all the shit that I've read, it's all pagan-based holidays. There's Christians stole it. I don't know why. I'm not an expert on it. I just heard this shit, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. So the only people who have like real holidays here are fucking immigrants. But then you look at them, we're all immigrants, so it doesn't make any fucking sense. We're just making up
Yeah.
holidays and making up fucking national trans this and national fucking Democrat that. Anyways, we can move forward.
Yeah,
I
those
could have went. I could
topics
have
have definitely
went.
turned into a religion lately,
I
which
got banned last week for that shit.
yeah, I still don't know what happened there. So they give you no explanation. You just tried to
No
log into your
explanation. I
Instagram.
got
So
fucking banned, bro. Straight
yeah,
up.
guys have been following us for a while. You'll notice in Steve's Instagram name there that the O in bold is now a 0
Zero.
because yeah, just
Because
one
I
day.
am
Yeah, one day.
zero
I think
anymore.
you texted me from a company account or a branded account. You're like, yeah, bro, this is my new account. I got banned. I'm like, what'd you get banned for? I've put way more worse stuff on Instagram. I separate my accounts now, so my personal account I don't get as controversial, but like my clips and stuff go on the branded account, but I haven't been banned. You get idiot comments all the time, but nothing that's bannable
I got
really.
fucking banned, dude. Straight banned. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm already banned. They might unban me, and then I don't really care because I'm gonna have this one built up better than the other one
But
anyway.
that
So
they didn't give you any warnings or anything. Like I'll
I
get
don't
warnings
fucking
every
know.
now and then.
Probably.
Like Instagram doesn't like when you do that, so we're gonna limit this
No, yeah.
functionality for 24 hours. They'll
Well,
do
I called
that.
a bot a hoe one time, and they flagged me.
That's pretty funny.
Like I just
Yeah,
reference. I
yeah,
said the word
yeah.
hoe in a
Hobot.
sentence. Yeah, no, and then the
Yeah,
bot got me. The bot warned me, and
the
I
bot.
might have done that like 4 times, and then they
The
banned
bot thought or the Hobot.
me.
Pretty
You
funny.
don't even gotta be accused of doing some crazy shit. You just gotta call an imaginary person a fucking whore.
That's what's so
But
weird. And we were talking about this earlier in terms of like playing to the algorithms or playing to technology. I say this all the time when people get weird about the religion issue. I'm like, Google is your god now. So, okay. Yeah. Make fun of me for doing astral projection, which is fucking legitimate, guys. Look
that's
into that.
fucking
Get some
awesome. I
binaural
do
beats
it.
on, learn how to do it. There are multiple dimensions to our reality. A lot of people don't know that. I know they
Pretty
don't like it
fucking
to talk
cool.
about it, but I told someone this last weekend, a girl, and I got into this discussion. I'm like, pretty much, it's like being a smartphone without access to the internet. Is people that don't follow that stuff or believe that stuff, that's completely fine, but you got to replace that with something. As humans, we are hardwired. We did come out of the box, to receive a signal from something. So for a lot of people, Google is their god. Their political party is their god. The news
Fucking
is their god. And for me, it's really weird to talk to these people because, like, well, where do you get your information? I'm like, from the fucking universe. I put myself in a different frequency, and information
the
just comes
fucking
into your head.
universe.
Like what?
Oh
And
god.
they're like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You're crazy." I'm like, "Bro, you read shit that's curated by corrupt politicians on a website, and you base your entire reality on that. So who's the crazy one here? If you really want to
Google
break
said
it down
it.
to brass
But
tacks,
Google said it though.
it's on the internet. It must be true. Like, all right, dipshit.
Oh.
Or you can dial into your higher self and get that information for yourself.
Turn
And it's
on
very
Rumble, you
clear.
fucking
There's a
moron.
lot of clarity. Yeah.
That's the real internet. Turn on Rumble. That's the real internet.
Oh yeah,
Just saying.
we got to look into that. Aaron, Jaron, how's the quality of food down south? All the food up north here is all GMO and full of chemicals, estrogenics. I love mangoes, the empanadas, tortillas, and salsa tacos. Yeah, the food down here is good. So I got into this discussion the other day with a group of people because I went out a few times this weekend where they're like, well, Mexico has a higher obesity rate than the US. I'm like, okay, like they go back and forth. When I lived in Houston, it was always between Houston and Chicago for the fattest city, and they always kind of alternate. The US and Mexico are that now, like percentage wise, but I have two eyes and a brain and I travel a lot around here. Maybe there's more like fat or overweight or obese people on paper, but they're not like everything's bigger in the US. Like we're the big leagues. You don't see people that need like rascal scooters or crutches or that can barely walk. You just don't see that here. You'll see people with like maybe a little pudge on them. The girls are usually in way better shape than the guys. The guys down here can get pretty sloppy pretty quickly. But the degree to which people are obese, that the U.S. takes the cake there, quite literally, figuratively. And then food-wise, I always tell people when they come and visit me that you can't safely fart for the first few days because your flora fauna is going to get changed up. They do talk about like Moctezuma's revenge, like you don't want to drink the water. Although a lot of nice areas you can drink the water, it's better quality than the U.S. Kind of the same thing with the safety, where people are like, are you afraid of living in Mexico? It's like, no, dude, it's way safer than the U.S. Like if you're a piece of shit and you get involved in dumb stuff, then yeah, you're gonna disappear. But if you don't do that and you hang out with decent people, like where I live right now, it's safer than any major U.S. city, but a few miles that way, it's like the murder capital of the country. You just don't go to that neighborhood. They consolidate the crime like they used to do in the U.S. Now in the U.S. they let it spill all over. But on the food topic, you can't. I would say be careful farting for the first few days because things go right through you. And a lot of people, the joke is in the English speaking world, like, oh, it's because our food's bad. It's because of improper hygiene standards. Yeah, maybe. But once you get accustomed to the gut flora and fauna here, you don't have you don't get diarrhea anymore. And one thing I do like about the food here, and I don't really know how to describe it, but I noticed this whereas a lot of people that come to Mexico for the first time, like, yeah, they'll get diarrhea for their first couple of days until their system gets adjusted. But when you live here for extended amounts of time and then you go back to the US, the opposite happens. So here, if I eat something, I know it'll go right through me. It doesn't clog me up. It doesn't back me up. I don't feel bloated or full or gross. In the US, it's really quite scary to the point where my first meal in the US, it's usually a small one because I know I won't pass it for like a day or two, sometimes 2 or 3 days. And that is not healthy. You're not supposed to have partially digested or undigestible food just sitting in your intestine or in your gut or in your colon. There's a reason there's so much cancer in the US, and you don't get that down here because you eat something, you're going to shit it out like in the next 12 hours or so. And it sounds crazy to people that haven't heard that, but that's how food's supposed to work. Your food is alive. Everything's pasteurized in the US. It's all sanitized. So like between the two cultural mindsets, you'll get gringos that come down here like, oh, is this food sanitized? I'm like, bro, why are you eating sanitized food? Like, why are you drinking pasteurized milk? What the fuck are you doing? Your food is alive. You are a living organism. And you have to put things that are alive in you to life.
As I'm drinking a fucking chemical shit from
these are basic laws of the universe that people in the US just don't get anymore. So yeah, the food down here is definitely better from that standpoint. Now, if you're eating tacos all the time, they use full animal lard. They use corn maíz. So like maybe not the best fat source, maybe not the best carb source, but
lard's way better than most.
Yeah, it is actually, but
90% better than anything else. Anything vegetable oil or seed oil based is like
in the US they use Crisco. Like, what the hell is Crisco? That's motor oil.
Vegetable oil spread.
You're putting automotive lubricant in your system, and then you wonder why people are sick or depressed or not quite with it. But so yeah, I'd say in general the food's much better down here. Here's a test that I do. So if I buy produce and I leave it out on the counter overnight, it will be bad tomorrow. In the US, try that in the US. Like, buy some bananas like that aren't quite ripe. See how long they stay. They can stay for a while.
It's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Or bread.
Depending on how humid it is.
Bread. I remember when I was moving out of my place in San Diego, I found like some burger buns in the back of my pantry from
molded.
from like a year ago. No mold. Here, bread maybe a couple days. If you get like the processed bimbo bread, that's the big brand down here. If you get those types of stuff, yeah, similar type thing. But like most food, people used to make fun of me in the U.S. Like, dude, you go grocery shopping every day. Why do you do that? That's a weird habit for an American. I learned that because I studied abroad down here in Mexico, to where you have to go to the grocery store every day. If you buy something and don't eat it that day, it'll be bad tomorrow. And guys, that's how your food is supposed to be. It's not You're not supposed to
Absolutely.
be able to leave shit out on the counter and have it still be fine to eat, good to eat 6 months later. That's it's not good to eat.
That's
Don't
not
put that
food,
shit in your
bro.
system.
That's not
Yeah,
actually food. Yeah, we usually get I get all my I mean because clearly I'm on a carnivore keto board whatever mostly carnivore.
I'll be right
Um,
back. Carry it for a minute.
yeah,
Gotta
so all of
fly
our
over there.
all of the food we actually get we get from a Mexican market called Rio Bravo, like 3 or 4 miles from the house, and um, yeah, so basically I just eat meat, mostly meat, 90% meat, 5% eggs, and then 5% whatever the fuck else I want. But yeah, even that though, even American processed meat or even processed meat in a Mexican deli or whatever you call it, butcher shop, is still it's still corn fed. It's still probably pretty much trash, but there's not too many places in America um, where you can get the carne asada beef that I like for $6 a pound. But but yeah, we also live in a place where you can get like most of that shit from farmers too. I mean, geez, we live 30 seconds from a grocery store that carries eggs that come from 40 minutes away, and then we have like cattle farm, shit tons of cattle farms, cattle ranches within 30 miles of the house, and all we have to do is pay the $800 or whatever for the quarter or the half. I don't remember what it was. It's either $800 for, or it's like I don't know, $800 for a half or something.
I don't remember. My family does that every year. It's been so long since I've
Yeah,
personally looked into
maybe it's
that
more than that.
because,
It's
like
probably
I
more
said,
than that.
I'll probably do a couple pounds of steak tonight. I'll literally order whatever is at the supermarket here. I live in a neighborhood with a lot of Jewish people too, so I can get kosher stuff, which is quite nice, and you can get your organic stuff. And I think
Yeah,
it does depend on where you live. So when I lived in California, we had like a lot of access to a lot of good stuff. You don't realize it, especially living in the city, but like a lot of stuff grows in California. California, aside from the three,
California is a huge agriculture state.
yeah, it's humongous, and you take it for granted until you go to places like Publix in Florida. You're like, all right, it's like $4 for an avocado, and these avocados suck because they have to be shipped across the country. But whenever I
Hmm.
go to the East Coast, I'm like, God, your produce out there is so terrible. West Coast kid, I've always lived within an hour of farmland, and you get much better produce. Kind of the same thing in Mexico. Like
Absolutely.
we don't have food shortages here, which is funny. I'm on a family chat, so we talk at least daily, at least via text, and it's always funny. Like my mom's like, "Hey, do you know where to get bacon?" Or "Oh, hey, do you know where to get eggs?" Or "Hey, is there milk at this store?" And I'm just like, "Is this the same America I grew up in? Why are there food shortages there? There's no food shortages in Mexico. Mexico's a big country too. It's very diverse, so they grow a lot of their stuff here, and the beef down here is fantastic, and it's cheap."
Yeah, I get my it's weird because I get my beef from a Mexican market, and I wonder where they get it from. It's like, do they
Oh,
import it
that's a
from
good point.
Mexico? I'm assuming they probably do.
At
Like,
nice steakhouses, they import meat from the US, but it's like special cuts from special farms and stuff, and it's like hundreds of dollars for a cut. So like I just get beef from Sonora or Sinaloa or like one of the northern states, and it's usually pretty good.
yeah, I just want to know where they get their beef from where I'm at. I'm assuming they put it on a freezer and overnight it one way or another to their grocery.
Yeah, that's a good
Hmm.
question. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. We'll
Maybe
have to
they
look
butcher
into
that shit. They gotta butcher that
beef
shit real quick.
logistics.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about the beef logistics. I mean, since it's like 80 or 90% of my diet, I should be probably interested in where the
Yeah,
chicken comes
where
from.
is it sourced from? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, I know for me personally, I find it easier to be in shape without being as clean here. Like my diet's pretty clean compared to most people, but it doesn't have to be as clean here as it has to be in the US, because I think they don't put a lot of bullshit in their food, or there's not as many chemicals. And then again, your food's alive. So that's something that sounds crazy to people in the US. But even when I lived in California at Jimbo's in San Diego, that store's not there anymore. I used to go and get unpasteurized goat milk, and that's a game changer. Drinking unpasteurized milk and not like dairy is another one. Dairy's alive. You're supposed to have bacteria in your system. Like there's you don't want like salmonella, or you don't want to get poisoned, or like fucking the clap or
You don't
something.
get salmonella from milk. You get salmonella from contaminated
Poultry.
vegetables.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anybody getting salmonella from a fucking egg. Like, have you ever heard of anybody getting salmonella from an egg? Last time I checked, it was cabbage or some shit.
Yeah,
That's the
like
last
tomatoes
salmonella.
or spinach or
Yeah, some leafy green that they tell you is fucking awesome, but it's actually decoration. Like, it's never. I've never had it. I eat raw eggs all the time. Like,
oh, me
from
too.
the
It's a
store.
fantastic
Yeah,
protein source.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
do sometimes, and they pasteurize them. So like I'll get like the egg whites, and then I'll just chug those. But you will get very stinky farts. So let's just say that. And if your system's not used to all that, I think is it albumin? I think is the active ingredient. If you have a sensitivity to
Not
that, or you're
sure.
not used to that, and you chug like 12 egg whites, yeah, you're gonna be pooing a lot that first day. But again, like anything, your system gets
Super
used to it eventually.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's super interesting because I should know that, number one, since I eat a shitload of eggs, but
I know I'm looking it up now.
you're like trying to doing a diet seminar
Albumin, yeah.
brought to you by Google. What was I gonna say? Shit. Sourcing. I forget. Doesn't matter.
Beef sourcing, but yeah, we
Beef
can deviate.
sourcing.
We get so to tie it
We
in.
certainly deviated.
We'll reframe that as gut resiliency. So yeah, the food
Oh,
down
there
here
you go.
it'll tear you up a bit for the first few days, but once you get accustomed to it, like you do anything when you travel anywhere in the world, then I believe personally, based on my own firsthand anecdotal experience, that the food down here is much better for you. It's not. People here will say when they go to the U.S. that like, oh my God, the food in the U.S. is so good.
That's what I
Yes,
was
it is,
thinking.
because there's a lot of flavor in it. It's like it's just in your face. It's engineered to make you addicted
Unnecessary is
to
what
it.
it is.
Yeah. Whereas
Um,
when I go to the U.S., a lot of times, like if I like the fast food down here is usually it's like really shitty quality. So like I never eat McDonald's or Burger King or Carl's Jr. or Wendy's or any of that stuff. But even if I did, a Big Mac in the U.S. is better than a Big Mac in Mexico. But that's because like they literally engineer it. Like they have like a full product design team, or like food service product design team that engineers it to where it's supposed to do that. It's just like social media networks. They're engineered and designed from a user interface, user experience standpoint to get you addicted to it, to keep you on the platform. So my friends here say all the time, most of my Mexican friends here go to the U.S. more than I do. So I'm like, hey, what's the U.S. like? I haven't been there a bit, and they're like, yeah. And then the answer is always, it's still there. It's still there.
yeah.
But they always talk like, dude, the food there is so good. Yeah, it is. It's overwhelming. Just salt, sugar, fat, all in your face, and it's like just
At
lighting
the
up your
same
dopamine
time is the
receptors.
issue. That's the biggest
Yes.
issue. Is it's
Uh
all fucking right there.
huh.
It goes to the dome, and like I've left restaurants. I've literally left restaurants and been higher off the food
Oh
than the
yeah.
weed that I smoked on my way to the restaurant. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is that fucking intoxicating sometimes. Some of the chemical shit. I don't even know if it's chemical shit or whatever. I'm just talking, but it's like Mexican food for me, like American Mexican food is absolutely like, dude, I feel like almost
So
anxious
good.
after I eat it. It's very good, but I feel like I get that kind of light, like airy feeling in my head, and I'm like bloated all at the same time. So I'm real fat and confused. And yeah, so I just avoid that.
There's a lot of times, like I live in Mexico, and most of my diet is Mexican food, obviously, because it's easier. But when I
It's
go to the
easier with
U.S., a
that.
lot of times, like I remember back in the day when I lived here, I'd go home after like a semester studying abroad, and my mom would be like, "Hey, let's do Mexican food for dinner." I was like, "Oh God, I want Mexican food. It's all I've been eating for the last few months."
Yeah,
But now I crave like you made a good point. I crave American Mexican food because here, yeah, you eat Mexican food and it's good. Like they have so many good flavors here. But like Mexican food in Mexico is a lot different than Mexican food in the U.S. They get really into like the spices and the herbs and the minerals, and like they get really into the culinary art of it. Whereas in the US, it's just like a bunch of shit that's going to light up your brain, and it's like
It
doing a
does
drug.
too.
I
It's
look forward to
fucking
eating
crazy.
Mexican food in the US because my whole body is just like, whoa, it lights up, and then
Oh yeah,
I feel like
that's the
shit
feeling,
afterwards. Whereas here, I don't feel shitty after I eat food.
dude.
It's like, oh,
It's
I
anywhere but
have to eat.
America. It's anywhere but America. Even I mean, well, I say anywhere but North America, because you go to Germany, you go to France, you go to Italy, you go to Europe, go to Asia, dude. You can eat whatever the fuck you want. You can eat literally whatever you want. You can go to Italy and you can eat straight pasta and beef and sauce, and you will be perfectly fine.
I
But
had
you
German
come to
food last night. Didn't feel full. Didn't feel bloated. Like it did have a lot of salt, so I had a little water retention, but
I
didn't make
love
me feel
salt.
sick to my stomach. Like whereas if you get like I don't know a big thing of like a bratwurst in the U.S. or something, you're gonna feel it in your gut. You're gonna get like heartburn too. And surprisingly, I don't ever get heartburn or indigestion here. And that there's a lot of chilies and spices and peppers and all sorts of stuff that normally would do that to you. But I think you also
Yeah,
acclimate. I had people here say stuff all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're from the U.S. Like, do you like spicy stuff?" I'm like, "Well, I don't necessarily like spicy stuff, but I've noticed that people that have known me here for a while have noticed that, like, when I'm putting spicy or like salsa and stuff, they're like, "Wow, you can handle that? That's like the hottest one." I'm like, "I don't even feel it." Whereas
yeah.
when I first came here, like, "Oh, that's like a habanero spice." Like, yeah, it's gonna light your mouth and your other hole up, you know, when it comes time to pass it through. But
Spice
you
is
get
fun, man.
acclimated to the point where you're like, "Oh no, it just adds flavor."
We
Like, oh,
could
you don't really feel a spice.
we could do a whole podcast just on
We
adding
probably
spices
should,
to your
yeah.
food, because I don't care for. Well, no, that's not even true. I enjoy spicy food. It's not good for my stomach doesn't like it. I like it, and but and that's in the Mexican or the Latin spicy, but the Asian spicy is something different for
There are different
me.
types of spice. I've been doing Indian food a lot lately. Yeah, completely different types.
I love that
Or
spice.
Thai spice. Like there's certain spices that hit you on the front of the mouth. Like the Mexican spice is a little more fresh. It'll like hit you on the front of the mouth, like maybe go to mid palate.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah,
Indian food, you can shovel it down, and then like 2 minutes later, you're like breathing it up like dragon's
yeah.
breath. You're like, oh my god, like
Oh,
oh
dude,
that hit me.
your fucking small intestines heating up. You can just feel the lower end of your stomach. You just start
Yeah,
sweating from the belly button because your
Thai,
shit's so fucked
Thai
up.
spice just clears your sinuses immediately. You're like, oh, I guess that was
Oh, yeah.
spicy. Yeah, like ooh, yeah. But yeah,
That's hardcore.
so yeah, we'll reframe that gut resiliency. But to get
That's
back on the
funny.
topic, and then guys, feel free to light up the chat or get on up here and chat with us. If not, we'll probably start wrapping it up here in a few, unless you want to add to the
Yeah,
conversation
engagement is
or
what's going to keep this going for as long as it needs to go.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm at the point now. Well, this was when my channel first started. It's like, oh my god, I
whoa.
had so much. And Caleb Jones talked about this in a podcast I listened to the other day, where like when you first start your channel, you have all these ideas you've been carrying around for so long, and you get them all out there, and then after that, you're like, well, like I don't want to be digging for new ideas. If we're doing X amount of hours of live streams a week, then a lot of stuff's going through my head is already out there, and once it's out, like it's not in
Yeah,
there anymore. You don't really you're not really sitting on new ideas or anything. So yeah,
I don't. Yeah,
definitely engage us.
I think that, yeah, please do that. It's a lot more fun when you do for these. We'll be doing a lot more. We'll be doing a lot more traditional content as far as Jaron and I having conversations about specific topics and not going on tangents, as if that's ever going to happen, right?
No, my brain doesn't work
We're
that
just gonna
way.
have to. It's gonna look so chopped up. I can guarantee that. But
Uh-huh.
it'll get the point across. I forget what I was gonna say now. See, I'm the perfect guy. You can run for a week, and I'm just gonna forget what I say in the middle of my fucking
Right,
sentence.
yeah.
What a guy,
So we have another comment from Aaron. I'd get canceled all the time. I have no filter. That's
bro.
really tough too. To have to watch what you say as you're saying it in real time is
Yeah,
really quite difficult. I
ENTPA
think
over here,
I've gotten better in
ENTPA
doing
101.
so during the last year, but yeah, it definitely sucks. See, I wasn't able to handle spicy food. Now I crave it. I'm a salsa addict.
Dude, I love jalapenos, and they fuck my stomach up so bad.
I I like them too. Well, I do a lot of tricks too to make you feel more full or give you the sensation of satiation. And those are like kind of some fat loss and diet tricks. So spicy always helps with that. Anything with a lot of volume. I'm not a huge fan of fiber because it clogs you
Spicy
up. And
full, fake full
yeah, I don't.
spicy. What the fuck? You do
Uh,
that?
what is that?
fake full spicy? Like you eat spicy stuff to make your stomach full?
It gives you the sensation of being more satiated. Yeah,
Really?
it can definitely do that.
Just makes me want
Yep.
to take a shit.
And I believe I've read studies again back when I was researching all this stuff years ago. So anyone, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments of the chat here, but I believe it gives you a slight uptick in terms of metabolism too. I mean, you can
Yeah.
feel it when
Oh
you eat
yeah.
something really spicy, you're
Yeah.
sweating.
Yeah.
Meat does that too.
Absolutely.
It's the thermal effect of food, I believe is what it's called. And I went to Fogo de Chao the other day. It's like 4 blocks from here, like literally like camera's
Mhm.
backwards. It's just right down there. But went to Fogo de
Close
Chao.
your
Of
eyes
course,
and point.
yeah, you get the meat sweats and you're like, oh, like the thermal effect of food is something as high as like 30%, depending on the cut or
I'm trying to
what your
think of the
metabolism
term
looks
because I
like
should know
for
the term.
beef.
I should know the term.
Yeah, it takes energy to digest it. Here, let me see.
Yeah, it takes energy, but that's okay. So that's we can no go. Please go because I've got all kinds of shit on
Yep,
that as far as the
yep.
digestion of meat. Let's go.
It's not thermal, it's
Run.
thermic effect of food. But yeah, guys, look into that. We can do a stream on this in
Yeah,
the
we should
future too.
definitely do a stream on the carnivore diet or something similar, high fat, low carb, or whatever. Since we both do it,
Yeah, once I
because
do once I do my first fitness photo shoot for this summer, yeah, maybe get some promo behind that,
once I
and
hit
then
70 pounds,
pull
sorry,
the diet
65
back out
pounds.
again.
Once we hit 65, once we hit 65 pounds, I'll actually consider myself qualified
Yeah, there we
to
go.
speak on it on the internet.
But yeah, in terms of this topic, like in the resiliency, and like even now, I feel quite a bit better just kind of getting that stuff out there. And sometimes it does suck being a foreigner because I have a good group of friends here, but sometimes you just need to talk to your bro or you need to talk to someone that kind of gets what you're going through, and that is often tough when you live abroad for that. So
Yeah.
definitely appreciate having the talk. This stream was all about me or us, but I think you were saying too this last week or so you felt like you're in kind of a funk, and we were kind of trying to work through it and figure it out. So I consider it growing pains usually.
Well,
And then, guys, a good reminder too is to listen to your emotions. I always use the analogy that it's like a check engine light coming on for your car. Doesn't mean your engine's going to blow up. Usually, it's just a sensor or something stupid, like maybe you didn't screw your gas cap lid back on or something, like whatever it is, especially with newer automobiles. But it's an indicator. It's like, all right, something's off. Let's look into it. Let's figure out what's going on here, and then it's smooth sailing from
yeah.
there once you can get that that reeled
Dude,
in.
the other day when we were talking about this shit, or when we initially started talking about the shit, I was in such a goofy fucking funk, and
Uh-huh.
all it took was about 20 minutes and me listening to like 4 or 5 songs. Just put headphones in and turned whatever that music was on, and just didn't do anything for like 20 minutes, and then as soon as I felt kind of
Figure it out.
motivated, kind of like moved towards the momentum of doing something, and that really helped in the moment. And it actually kind of the momentum is like pushing the big rock down the hill. You just kind of it just developed throughout. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It worked.
I've been in a weird phase lately too, because I'm naturally an introvert, but I'm developing more, I suppose, extroverted type tendencies. And this thought occurred to when I took the bio break a few minutes ago. That the thought popped in my head, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll bring it up real quick. But I'm at the point now where I'm starting to crave social activity. Where I remember before, especially I've worked in marketing my whole career, and some of our good sales guys, my God, you're on the phone all day long, and you're the road warrior, and you're going from appointment to appointment, and geez,
Yeah,
like someone always wants a piece of you at all the time. Like I couldn't imagine doing that. And I was really comfortable just being behind a computer all day in a cubicle, just clicking away, being, my own little introverted world that I created for myself. But now I'd say I'm probably still an introvert at my core, but I'm getting more and more the urge to go out and meet more people and go to more group activities and travel more
yeah,
and get on the phone more. Like 20 years ago in my career, it would drive me nuts. Like, oh, I've got all these phone calls today. Now I'm like, God, I don't have any
thank
phone calls today.
God.
Like, I like being on the phone. I like talking to people and getting ideas out there and getting stuff going. So, again, I think that this whole country pretty much shut down during All Saints Week or Holy Week or whatever we call it in English. Semana Santa. We shut down for Semana Santa. I'll just talk how the gringos here talk. For Semana Santa and Pascua, we shut down. And I was craving to go out. I was like, God, I need some social interaction. There's 2 days I went out, and like even the bar we went to on Sunday night, we were the only people there. I took a girl to one of the nicest restaurants in the entire fucking country on Saturday. There was nobody there. Like, oh wow, we got in pretty quick. Normally I'm able to get into the nice restaurants because I go there a lot and they know me. But I was like, wow, there's but it was weird just sitting there. You're like, all right, it's a beautiful restaurant, food's good, drinks are good, but the without other people, the ambiance was kind of off. You're like, all right, like we could
Yeah,
do this at home. I've got a good view right here. We could just sit on the couch and, and do the same thing.
people like, and that's part of why you pay to go to a restaurant like that, is to be in the atmosphere,
That's
the
exactly
energy
what
of
you
the
pay for.
people in places like that. I mean, I feel
Yeah,
like that's the
I make
same
a
way with
better old
restaurants
fashioned at
too.
home. Mexicans can't make old fashions for shit unless you go to like
Yeah,
international hotel chains. Then they can do it because they get the right bitters and all that stuff down here. But
I wonder what I'm gonna be like when I go out to, like, I haven't been to. Oh no, we've been to a restaurant once or twice, but like sit down to a fancy place where I would normally get like a glass of wine or something like that. We're like, yeah, can I get a bottle of Diet Mountain Dew, please?
yeah, right.
Can I get a Diet Pepsi? Put it in
Mhm.
whatever glass you want to make it look fancy. I don't give a fuck.
Yep. I do it all the
Modern
time.
wine glass.
Like all right. Like I normally don't drink, and if I do, it'll be like one old fashioned. But usually it's like just give me a sugar free Coca Cola, and we're good to
I don't
go.
got that. I don't have that button. I got the fucking.
Yeah.
I got the knob.
Yep.
Just go.
Dial it up or down. It's either on or off. More like a switch.
Yeah.
See, we've got another
Mm,
quote.
go
Couple
ahead.
more comments here. Chorizo spice is the bomb. Yeah,
Yeah.
chorizo is pretty
Perfectly
good. Although
good.
I prefer American sausage over chorizo, and it's hard to find American sausage here. But it's a new German restaurant down the road, so they've got all sorts of stuff. They've got like lean beef sausage. Ternura is the cut they call it in
They
Spanish. So
got
like
some
I get
liverwurst down there, I'm sure.
they got like huge brats of like 99% lean ground beef. Okay, it's pure protein. They have like turkey sausage, turkey breast sausage. So this
What would
German
that run?
restaurant's legit. I've been going there a lot lately.
What would that run you for, like, a call it a pound of those 99%
Oh,
sausages, or a kilo? Call it a kilo because we.
what was it? No, the one I get, like the I'll take a picture next time. The brat's huge. Like it's quite
Yeah,
filling. So maybe half a pound of sausage, and it's like 8, 9, $10. You know, once you get it delivered on Uber Eats or one of the other apps they have down
instead of
here,
just
similar to
walking
that.
down there and going and getting it.
Yeah, I'll start doing that more often. Usually, I go for walk. I go for walks in the neighborhood every now and then, but usually it's like not to carry a bunch of groceries around and stuff. I just get shit delivered to the house.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then here we got one more question. What do you do for work as an expat? So I worked corporate for most of my career in marketing, got up to like a mid-level marketing manager type level. I've had director type levels. The last few years I've been doing consulting. So I worked for one of the big four the last few years, roughly, God, almost 2 months ago now. Uh, Ended my last big four consulting contract, and I've just been doing all my own stuff now. So coaching services, anything I make on this channel, any top 10% group membership signups, I get that. And then I do some small projects on the side. So I advise for a marketing firm. So I get a retainer and then a small split on commission, and then any monthly recurring revenue from those contracts that I bring into the company. So yeah, part of the reason for the main topic there, the resiliency thing, where I've been feeling kind of off financially too, to where like, all right, I've replaced my corporate income successfully, but I'm so used to like my entire life having my schedule set for me to where it's kind of weird that I'm not doing that anymore. So again, when I take a step back, I'm like, all right, I'm where I need to be financially, or I've at least replaced my full-time income from the corporate gigs based on stuff that I'm doing 100% for myself, but it still feels kind of off because I'm going through those growing pains of being 100% independent. So I can always go back to the corporate world. I've realized a lot of topics on this channel that makes it a bit more difficult. I don't get called the way I used to, or you'll get like an offer phase and they're like, "Hey man, we saw your channel," and there's no way. But there's ways of getting around that too. If you want to get into the corporate thing, just let them know like, "Hey, one, I live in Mexico. Sometimes accounting has an issue with that. You can 1099 me. We're good. I'm a Washington resident legally. I'm also a Mexican resident legally, so we can use whatever address you want. Make it nice on HR and accounting. That overcomes that potential objection. And then the other one, like, hey, I do some content on the side. Some people find it controversial. If you want to check it out, you probably won't find it controversial. If you do, then it might not be a good fit. But I have those conversations on the first phone screen, so I don't do 3 to 5 interviews and get to the offer phase and like, hey, we saw your channel, we don't really like what you have to say. You're like, all right, well, you guys should have done your due diligence
Yeah,
earlier
I
on in the
don't care.
conversation to rule out candidates. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then so yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
know.
do.
She was
That's what I
asking
do
if
as an
what
expat. And then I've covered on the channel too. When you do the geo arbitrage in terms of where, okay, I live on a Mexican budget now. I live in a very high class, very expensive Mexican neighborhood, but I'm still paying in pesos. So the goal is you want to make dollars and pay in pesos. I'm a huge fan of Caleb Jones. He usually says that when you live abroad, like unless you live in Tokyo or Dubai or London or like an expensive abroad city, but if you live anywhere else abroad, for the most part, if you can aim for about $85,000 in income, then you're going to be very happy. You're going to do very well. My absolute budget or my fixed costs here, they always come in less than $1,500. I do go out a lot. I do travel a lot. I go to nice restaurants. If I go to a club, which I very seldom do, but I do the bottle service and I throw down. So my budget looks more like $3,000 a month, but compared to the US, like that was just my rent in California. And that was my rent after 50% of my income being taken from me in taxes. So when you live abroad, you don't get taxed on the first 120K income. If you're outside of the US, if you're a US citizen and live outside the US for more than 330 days a year, then you don't get taxed on the first 120K. So those things you have to take into consideration too. I aim to bring home 10K a month. I've done that the last 2 months since I left my corporate contracts, but it still feels weird to me because I think in the corporate contracts, you're just used to that money posting on the day that it's set to post. Whereas when you work for yourself, and again, this is new for me, I've always worked for myself in some degree, but now I'm like 100% independent. There's weeks where you're like, all right, I crushed it. And there's like other times where like a few weeks or even months go by, you're like, it's not looking good. We're getting kind of lean. And then boom, like a new project comes in. And
Yeah,
rather than having a steady paycheck, it's like you get a deposit. You're like, oh, I'm good for the next 6 months, or 3 months go by. You're like, ooh, haven't brought any income in a while. So you got to get used to that aspect too. If you do want to get out of
yeah.
the corporate world.
Well, that was the absolute toughest thing for me when I started my business. It was like, I mean, you realize that, yeah, you can make 10K at a time, 20K at a time, whatever. In some instances, it doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen that often. Maybe a couple of times a year where you'll catch like a $20,000 deal. But it's really, especially in a business like mine where we do settlements, like when we're settling insurance claims, we don't know when those fucking things are going to settle. And then I have a net 7 for somebody to pay me. So if it takes me 2 months to settle a claim and I put 20 hours into that claim, which is probably being a little dramatic, but put that amount of money into that claim or the amount of time in that claim, and then you only make 2K, but that 2K is 3 weeks out or 2 months out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stack the pipeline. It's almost like selling deals. You got to.
I think you told me earlier, oh, I've got 20K in receivables. I think I've probably got 20, 30K in receivables, but Lord knows when that's coming in. Hopefully by the end of the summer. So,
Right.
but in the meantime, it's just keep doing things like you said, stack that pipeline and get them coming through. I've got all sorts of people. Oh, hey man, now's not a good time to buy, or oh, hey, I'll get it to you on this date. And I do track all that stuff, track all my leads, and put that in my schedule. And then most people, I'd say 80% for the most part, they do follow through. I do work with good, high quality people, but it's one of those things where like you can't accurately predict what that's going to look like, or it's not necessarily linear like it is a full-time job. Like, okay, on the 1st and 15th of each month, or every other week, or every Friday, or whatever your payment schedule looks like, you're just going to get that deposit for the same exact amount. It's like sometimes you'll get a $10,000 deposit, and then other times 3 months will go by and then 25K hits. So that's kind of what it looks like, more so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just kind of adapt to like it all depends, right? Because we've got the subscription model with the technology company that started, and then we have this like the insurance claim settlement company, and one was supposed to offset the other one just to get some version of consistency
Yep.
eventually into the picture. And so you kind of figure it out. You kind of dial it in a bit, right? You kind of fuck around with it, kind of go broke a few times as far as like not timing your money right, or a claim failing that shouldn't have failed, or whatever. You figure it out, and generally you can look and see how long it's going to take based off the company, the complexity of the claim, and whoever the adjuster is on the other end or whatever. But it yeah, so you pretty much just say for every, like, as long as you have 10, as long as I have 10 in the queue, I'll be fine. As long as I always have 10 working, generally I'll close at least 1 to 2 of those a week, and sometimes it's more than that, but most of the time it's 1 to 2 of those a week, and those are all on average worth like $1,500. So in my head, as long as I'm turning over those numbers, then the shit makes sense.
I've taken a small hit income wise too, because I want to start scaling. So rather than me doing everything, because I know how to do everything for my own business, obviously, but rather than me doing it, that rather I'm spending that time teaching other people how to do it. But there's a learning curve, and there's some trial and error. People aren't going to do it the same way you do, or they're not going to do it the same timeline you're going to do it, or so
Yeah.
I'm kind of dealing with that too. Like, all right, all the time I take to train someone else to do it, or figure out like, am I even doing it the most optimized way? So I'm a big proponent. I hire consultants. I'll pay them like, for example, if I'm going to launch like a Google paid ad campaign, I'll give a guy that works for Google in like a pretty senior, whatever level and whatever department needs to be for me to get what I need out of him. I was like, dude, I'll give you like $500 for an hour. Just tell me exactly how to do it. Or look, I tried to do it, but I know that I don't have the level of the in-depth knowledge you do because you do this every day, all day long. So a guy that manages like an entire department for Google and knows this shit inside and out and can do it in his sleep. Okay, I'll give you $500 for an hour. Take a look at my campaigns and like make sure I'm doing it right, so I don't waste my spin in my first month, or I can scale a lot faster too. So I'm kind of doing that. The YouTube channel, with the socials, with like any sort of my sales follow-ups, like any VA type activities, day-to-day admin operations type stuff. Like, all right, I know how to do it myself, but like I'm not necessarily doing it the most efficient way. I'm just doing it the way I know how to do it. So I need to hire someone to take a look at it, analyze it, and let me know. Which it's hard to find good consultants out there. It really is. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, you're on the right path." I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not, because I've been doing the same thing for a while, and I'm not getting better results, which means I'm not learning. That means there's something I'm missing here. I hired you for your expertise, and that's what I'm looking to get out of you. And then once I get
Yeah.
that down pat, go to like I like loom.com, LOOM. You
Mhm.
just go through, like, screen share, record all your stuff, build out like a workflow or a training library, give that to a VA for a few bucks an hour, and then you're off to the races. But I'm in that process right now. It's like, all right, all the time I spend on my business is time I can't spend in my business, but I don't have the people or like bandwidth from a labor standpoint. I don't have all of those pieces in place yet of the puzzle. So there's going to be a bit of a drop off too while I'm undergoing these efforts. And
Well,
that's
yeah.
good.
I mean, you're always going to be hybrid, like up
Mhm.
front. And being kind of a control freak, and I'm kind of a control freak, so I can say you're kind of a control
Yep.
freak. Um, First off, you have to understand that people aren't going to do the level of quality work that you're going to do unless you train them, of course. But even when you train them, they're not going to care as much as you do, and thus they're not going to get as the percentages of perfection is just going to drop. And if you're going to be in business doing any version of volume, you're going to have to get used to that. And I'm talking to myself right now, but like
Mhm.
I always want to go through every single process that I know that I'm going to end up hiring out at some point, at least once. So at least I have a fighting chance if somebody were to not show up or not fulfill on what they said they're going to do or whatever. And this is a resilience tactic for sure. It's like you don't have to be an expert at anything. You just need, as the owner or entrepreneur or whatever you want to call yourself whatever the fuck you want, but you don't have to know much of anything except for how to get yourself through a day, so long as you have the people that are professionals at it. And I think being an owner, you're trying to curate the overall product. You're not trying to curate the process. Like, you are trying to curate the process, but that's why you hire the experts to curate the process for you. You're just trying to get a result for an overall product, right?
That's what I'm looking to do now. Like I am very process oriented. I do
Yeah.
enjoy that discovery phase of figuring things out, but it's like 30 days of discovery phase, and then it's the next 30 days of putting that into action. Usually within 90 days, I can get a workflow down pat. But there's
Uh,
so many things I have to do, and I don't want to wait 90 days for each of those. So I'd rather just hire someone and be like, hey, show me your method. There will be lessons learned along the way. I will make it more of mine. And the
mhm.
more different working models I have, I'll eventually take pieces of what works and what doesn't work for me personally, for what I'm trying to do, and
Yeah.
then I'll have that locked down. And usually that happens a lot quicker when you start off with that level of expertise. And to answer that earlier question, what do you do for as an expat? I do that a lot too. So I'm one of those people. I've been in my career for like 20 years, so I do have clients that they'll pay me $500 for an hour just to tell them, like, hey man, we have this
Yeah.
team. There's like 6 to 12 people. We ran into this bottleneck or this roadblock. We know that you've worked with this kind of stuff before. Can you give me an hour of your time and help us get to the bottom of it? And usually it's something I can solve immediately because I've seen it time and time again in my career. So they're not paid. Like a lot of
They're not
people will get
paying
on
for
me.
time, they're paying for expertise.
Exactly that. People be like, dude, $500 an hour, it makes you think you're worth that. I'm like, took me 20 years to figure this shit out. Within half an hour, we'll have the solution to your problem. And then I can help you plan for any other problems that you're going to inevitably face that stemmed from the same source of the problem of the one we just solved. So that's what you pay for. You pay for the expertise there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and that's what I got that question a lot when I bumped my prices because I charge based off of percentage.
I
And
think I think I'm gonna double mine soon
yeah, I'm
to make sure I get
50%
the right
more than I
types of
was last
clients.
year.
Yeah.
I was doing stuff for not as much money as I should have been doing it for, and it cost me 125,000 last year, and just not raising my fees, and that is
Well,
painful considering the market was where I'm at now.
well,
I'm
you
average.
attract better level clients too when you have higher price points.
Yeah, I don't know that my price package necessarily attracted anybody in specifically, and I mean that for me because I have been admittedly resilience again, a lazy marketer.
Mm-hmm.
I am a DMs guy. I'm a word of mouth guy. Like every ounce of business I've got in the last 4 years has been somebody telling somebody else that I'm dope. Like that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm working into the marketing space, I'm realizing how lazy of a marketer I am for myself. And
Yeah, if I'm being
it's
honest, I kind of am too. Like
really
I
fucking
know what
bad.
needs to be I know it needs to be done, but it's not shit I want to do myself. I don't want to send out 200 cold DMs a day. I don't want to do all
And
these
that's
cold
what I'm
calls a day.
doing. Not 200,
And
but yeah.
I've spent my entire career building entire departments and teams for very big companies with very big budgets. So for me, it's kind of hard. We're like,
Well,
for
bastard.
example, I want to grow like a TikTok account. I want to grow my Instagram. Well, normally in the corporate world, like
You don't want to
I,
grow. You want somebody else to grow for you.
yeah, in any of my corporate jobs or like even consulting for clients, like, okay, I've got an agency partner. They'll do it for like $50,000 a month. We'll blow up your brand, pretty quickly. But I've got millions of dollars to play with. Whereas for me, it's like, all right, I need a VA that I can give $500 a month, but they need to do all of this stuff. And like,
All of
okay,
it.
well, for $500 a month, I'm not going to get the results that I expect from my corporate life where I have $50,000 to give to an agency and I just check
Not
in with
even
them.
close.
Maybe for the first month we do weekly calls and like we have like an extended working session to get everything launched, but after that it's like I just check in every month and they just give my reporting back to me.
Yeah, isn't that the most ideal scenario I've ever heard in my life?
I want to be there eventually with my brand. Like ideally I just
Yeah,
want to be able to get on these streams, go to the live events, do speaking engagements and spend more time on like my premium creative projects, although really I could hire a lot of that stuff out too. I've already got all the shit written down. It's just about packaging it correctly and then promoting it and getting it out there from a distribution
short,
channel
short of being
standpoint.
short of being shadow banned. What's
Yeah, that doesn't help.
one more one? What other time have you gotten your dick kicked in this journey of becoming a YouTube superstar?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd say really that's the big one as far as like just not getting out the gate. But I mean, realistically, I could go through like thumbnails can be better. I'm sure my keyword
I'm just talking
optimization could be
about somewhere
better.
where you
Like,
just had a fat setback. That's all I'm talking
yeah,
about. Like
but
if any setback really at the end of the day.
yeah, no, it hasn't really been much to be
I think
honest.
then we're not doing enough because there should be a good dick kicking around the corner if we're actually doing
Yeah.
what we need to be doing. But that's the lesson is like if you're not going for something that's like really closely you probably shouldn't be going for, you're never going to get it in the first place.
For me, one of my goals, and this sounds crazy, is to have a hit piece done on me. Once people start doing hit videos on me, that means I'm relevant. But if no one's
Yeah.
talking about me, then like that means no one knows who the
It's
fuck you are.
unfortunate I
They
got
don't really
canceled
care. Yeah.
without knowing why the fuck I got canceled. I could have called that one in quick.
Oh, they'll never tell you.
That fucking
It's
sucks,
like it's
man.
like
I
Tinder.
just want to know.
I did a video last summer on like how not to get banned on Tinder, but it's all theory. It's based on stuff I read in the forums. Like I don't know why I got banned. My
He
my
said
texting
hose
sequence
6
is exactly the same. Yeah, I don't
I
harass
use the
people.
term hose. I use the term hose in general
Uh-huh.
six times across 1 year on Instagram and got banned.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I don't post anything
Oh
controversial on my
god.
Instagram. I'll invite people to these shows or to shows of buddies where I make appearances, but like I
What a
don't.
fucking
Yeah, I don't
joke.
put anything out there that might get me in trouble there. Although for me, Instagram's like
Uh,
my main messenger. It's like my main kind of squeeze page or landing page. Although I think I might redo that too. I might I might get my websites more front and center than have that be the squeeze
Never
page,
gonna.
since I own the IP for that.
I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I don't think you need to be fighting that fight. Let
Yeah.
Instagram be your squeeze. Squeeze the fuck out of Instagram if you want. I just think,
Yep.
oh yeah, we're gonna do the Rumble thing. That's our hump right now. Is we're getting ready to, well, not even really getting ready. We've been
Yep.
in talks about this. We've
Oh,
been
like even for the core topic, like this last week, okay, yeah, like the main topic, oh, I felt kind of down or felt kind of off. Here's the reasons why we kind of got to the solution. But there's other things that happened to me last week too that I cannot talk about publicly at all.
yeah,
There's guys in the chat that are privy to that. For example, Peter and I did an interesting experiment this last week, with some dating type topics, and I would love to share those insights, but you can't do that publicly. Like, I'll be
yeah,
banned immediately for shit like that.
yeah. Well, I mean, we can always broaden the fucking topic up and speak in general, or we can go wherever the fuck we want. Oh yeah, membership wise, we can do that too.
Okay, I've got a
Like,
couple more
yeah,
comments here. Jake, would you do a video on controlling setting your own life and schedule once you're free, once you have control over it, or have become an entrepreneur? You know what?
yeah,
Yeah, I will do a video on that because I hired a business coach years ago and kind of installed that more or less as a baseline, the framework that he set out. So I'm very flexible with my schedule. I do like more types of like blocks. So I know what certain activities require from a time perspective. I know personally when I'm in more of a creative mood. I know like when I'm not in a creative mood. So like creative stuff for me in the morning doesn't normally happen. The later it gets into night, the more creativity comes out. So mornings I do like operational stuff. I'll do like follow up with leads or sales calls or whatnot. I schedule most of my calls before noon. Noon I go to the gym. After the gym, I'm in a different energy state. So this business coach I hired, he was all about managing your energy, and then that over the years that's translated into how I like actually structure my schedule for the week or for weeks or months at a time. So I can definitely do that. I have a lot of activities I give my coaching clients, so I can maybe share some of those publicly and just kind of walk through the way I do it. And then Steve, if we have
yeah.
any commonalities or if we differ in any areas, kind of how you go
I
about
don't
that
time
too.
box shit. I don't time box a fucking thing. I wait. Look, you do this long enough. You don't. It's you kind of.
You kind of know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to. It's really really hard to explain in just kind of riffing about it because I would have to actually sit down. You're not, bro. The whole point in having your own life is just set your fucking habits up. Whatever habits you have. Like I'm a terrible sleeper. Let's just be real. I'm a terrible fucking sleeper. I will be 9 a.m. or 9 a.m. 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Go to the gym, cold shower, and be a G for like 10 days. And then on day 11, me and Jaron stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, bullshitting about something, and I have too much caffeine or too much nicotine, and I'm up till
Yeah,
5. Next thing you know, I'm sleeping until noon. Next thing you know, I'm up until 5 the next morning, and I'm completely off my schedule. It's always been like that.
I'm
I've
like that too.
tried.
Yeah.
I've accepted the fact that I'm not going to be a perfect sleeper my whole life. I'm just going to sleep whenever the fuck I need to sleep. So my schedule is not a time. It's not like time boxing like a lot of people time box. This is why I don't want to have a traditional company. I don't want to have a traditional sales schedule. I just want people to be able to do whatever the fuck they want and go do that. Like that's the thing.
Mhm.
And like that's why I chose a business where I don't have to get stuff done 9 to 5. I can get it done at fucking midnight if I want to. So I would say pick your daily habits, whatever those are. I mean, obviously you have to wash your nuts and brush your teeth and go to the gym and do like regular dude stuff so that you can still see your dick when you
Function.
pee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, like fuck it. Like do whatever you want. If you work well at 2 o'clock in the morning, fucking work at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you work well at noon, work well at noon. If you want to work noon to 8, 4 p.m. to 4 a.m., do that. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Like there's no science. It's once you get to this place, it's as long as it's not hurting your business. Like pick a business that works for your life, obviously. But if you're like me and you're a night owl, or you're like Jaron and you're kind of a night owl and you kind of can like to be able to stretch it and sleep until 10 or 11, like
I slept
you,
until 10 today, but I was up
yeah,
until
I slept.
2, 3
Well, I
last night.
didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't. I slept weird yesterday. I fell asleep at like 6 p.m. because I was up way early yesterday morning. Um, but just like pick a business if you're going to be an entrepreneur, like Crash Course. Pick a business that fits your lifestyle, not the other way around.
Mhm.
Don't pick a business that you're going to have to change completely who you want to be, not who you are necessarily, because maybe you do want to be a 9 to 5 guy, or maybe you don't want to work fucking at all. I mean, maybe you want to work 2 hours a day. At that point, do whatever the fuck you want, right?
When I was in school, I used to structure my schedule. All my classes were on Tuesday, Thursday, and I'd stack all my labs, like 3 hour long classes, on Wednesdays. So usually for credit hours, like most courses in U.S. universities were three credit hours per semester. So that means you're doing 3 contact hours per week. So I'd stack them on Tuesday and Thursday, 1.5 hours for each class on Tuesday, Thursday, and then Wednesday, like a bunch of 3 hour long labs and classes and lecture series and shit like that. But Tuesday through Thursday, I was on. Because for me, it's like, if I'm going to be doing something, I'd rather just keep doing it until I get done. I always hated the shit. Like, oh, I have 1 class Monday morning, the rest of Monday free. And then Tuesday, like 2 classes in the morning, and then a class like
I can see
6
that.
hours later. That drives me nuts. I was like, I'm already in academic mode. I'm going to stack everything. So I'm looking for my work schedule to do that too. Like Tuesday to Thursday, I'm grinding it out. I'm not fucking around. And then Monday and Friday, like there's still work days, but I'm doing stuff that maybe isn't as energy intensive, and then weekends just absolutely free. Although a lot of times I end up working on weekends, kind of like Steve said.
It's just like
sometimes I'm in a creative mode. Sometimes I want to write shit.
It's
sometimes
mostly creative stuff, for me specifically. But as far as like, would you do a video and we can do like a video on that. I mean, the message is going to be generally the same. It's like, do what you want. Yes, schedule your shit. Obviously, be a responsible adult. Like, don't be a moron. Don't do anything that's not going to make your business successful. You're going to have to work a shitload. So there's that. I mean, Jake, I know you're already in business for yourself, so clearly you know all this. But like, pick something that fits your fucking lifestyle. And if it doesn't fit your lifestyle, go find a job that fits your lifestyle. Who gives a fuck? Like, most people aren't even cut out to be. Let this be real. Let's be real on another front. Most people are cut out to be an entrepreneur. They're not cut out to do their own business. They're not cut out to do that shit. Maybe you want to be a freelancer, or maybe you want to work remotely for a company. That might even be a better fucking choice.
Some people like
money out there for that.
Some people like being told what to do, and I've always hated being told what to do. But I have had jobs where like the company has a good vision, they have good leadership, and like I don't know what to do. Like I've never grown a company from nothing to $100 million. But if I have a CMO that has like 6 or like half a dozen of successful exits under his belt, I'm going to listen to him. I want to be told what to do and learn along the way. That's
best thing though. For a lot of people that want to be in shit, like I consider, because like I'm working on my Google project management cert, or I was working on it. I haven't worked on it in like 2 weeks, but getting that and then getting into entry-level fintech, just doing like what do you call them, like contract, just 3 month, whatever, like 4 hour a day remote projects, and learning, and even if it's just cheap, whatever, 70K or whatever work, it's like getting into that and understanding that like you've got to go in and learn shit. My dad was talking to me on the phone earlier. He's getting ready to do this accounting thing where he's going to learn this accounting and tax thing from a guy. I mean, and my dad makes like 150. And he's going to go learn the shit for a year from a guy and get a cert to do it, and then flip it into his own business a year after that. Like that's the type of shit. Like going and working for somebody too. I don't even know why I'm on that, but like going and working for somebody isn't going to kill you. It's just a matter of like, are you lost in the right direction? Are you going in the direction that you're like looking to go? Because a lot of this shit is just temporary. Like the jobs, dude, I've worked jobs for 3 months or 6 months before just to get me through a winter when I had my business. Because it gets rough sometimes.
I take a lot of 3 to 6 month gigs. I think for the last few years since the pandemic hit, I haven't had a full-time job. I've had contracts that vary in length, usually between 90 or between 0 and 90 days. I can figure out the workflows, processes, get all the systems and people put in place, and then by the end of 6 months, like most jobs don't need me anymore, because the way my brain works, I can't do the same thing every day. This is something else I want to bring up in this show, but for the resiliency thing, a lot of times I find myself miserable when I'm doing the same thing every day. I have to have novelty. I am hyperactive, and I'm super wired, and I'm super hyper analytical and academic by nature. I can't do the same. I can't be a widget maker that makes widgets for his entire career. That just doesn't work for me. I'm miserable doing shit like that. But if I'm constantly able to do like or 90 to 180-day contracts where I'm figuring out new things every single time I engage a new contract. Yeah, that works pretty well for me.
Yeah, those contracts start paying $150 an hour pretty goddamn quick.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too for construction project management. It's more like in the 80 to $100 an hour range. But yeah, dude, contract work is sweet. Like I would suggest it if for people. I still don't know why I'm on this because I wasn't even part of the fucking question. But I would suggest that somebody, if they were really trying to figure out whether they wanted to do something, go and get a fucking temp, like literal temp job in what they're doing. Like it's a very high possibility that they're gonna fucking hate what they're doing, and then if they quit as a temp, they quit as a temp. They don't quit as a permanent employee, which is pretty crazy. But that's kind of what I did when I first started in the construction business, as construction sales. Is went down to New Mexico for a storm like 7 or 8 years ago, and the guy, I went through the first storm for a couple months, and the guy said, "Do you like it?" And I said, "Well, I got a lot of money, so I guess I like it." And then I just never quit, right? So like that could happen to anybody. Anyways, yeah. What was the second part of the
Sales is a
question?
good place to get started too. If you're
Sales
not
is
sure if you like the
lovely place.
industry,
Yeah.
and it's low risk for you and the employer, like especially if it's commission only, then everyone
Yeah.
needs good salespeople. So you can learn on the job, and as long as you have enough money in the bank to get you through until you start making those big commission paychecks, then that's a good way to feel it out too.
So did we answer that question, Jake, officially?
Yeah, do it, control your own life. Well, the question was, would you do a video on it? That yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we
just
could,
did.
yeah, that was the
I mean,
question. It's a yes or no question. Yes,
yes, we will.
yeah,
100%.
we can do a video on it.
Are we gonna do? We're gonna do 2 more streams this week.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, kind of like I was saying. I
Thursday.
want to try doing the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday thing, and then
We're gonna
the
do that.
rest
We're
of the
gonna do
time
labs. We should call them the labs.
the labs. Yeah, you know what?
I'm a marketer.
These are from 2 to 3 hours long. I was a fantastic student. I know when I go on the panel shows, guys always roll their eyes when I mention that, but I was really gifted academically. I was very good. So
You sound like a fantastic student.
and I was. I still am. Yeah. My singing coach told that to me today. She's like, of all my students, she's like, you're making like monumental progress. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the goal. That's why I hired you. You're a resource to me, but like I'm gonna do my shit outside of the instructional periods to where I can actually learn this.
Being set so low that
Isn't
you
it
can
funny?
knock it on your fucking shins.
Oh, dude, I was top of my class down here in Mexico. Like I'd always go first for like any like discussions or group led activities or like speeches. And it was funny because other kids in my class would copy me. And I remember telling them, like, guys, Spanish is not my first language. Like, at least copy, edit what you're doing. And they'd turn in shit verbatim. And my professors all knew it. And they're like, well, it's just kind of the Mexican, educational ethic here. Like, a lot of cultures don't value education like certain other cultures do. My family's mostly German. Like, I remember growing up when there were kids that like, oh, my parents gave me $100 for getting straight A's. I'm like, what? You get paid for getting straight A's? Like, it's just expected where I come from. You just, how do you not get straight A's? Like, it's so fucking easy. You just have to like just do the work. And the work, I remember in high school, it'd be like, write half a page double spaced for your response on what we talked about in class. Like, okay, I can do that. Like, hey, turn in yesterday's assignment. I'm doing the assignment as returning it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a whole 4 sentences in size 12 font.
Oh, dude, or for this stuff, I remember in high school, like all semester long, they'd be like, all right, you have to do a 15-minute speech at the end of the semester, and I'm like the night before, I get working on it.
15 minutes straight about nothing. Awesome.
Guys, subscribe to my channel. I can talk for 3 hours by myself without even thinking about it.
I almost spit my shit out of my face.
Yeah,
That's
you know that.
Awesome. Yeah, and I was the guy who got a fucking C+ in weightlifting. So.
I did get a couple. God. I think I did get like a C or 2 when I was here in Mexico, or I got like a 6 or a 7 because they use the 10-point scale. And it was the only 2 classes that I didn't get like a solid 9 or 10 in were the classes in English. Cause I'm like, oh, they're in English. So like, I know all the stuff, but I didn't study the materials. So I'm like, oh, oops. But you can do tricks like, all right, I didn't get the grade I wanted. So you just take it pass fail. like it still goes towards your curriculum to get your degree, but it doesn't hit your GPA. Back in
Yeah.
days where I cared about that kind of stuff. That would be a good stream too, like how to fucking get through university fast. I'm pretty good
Well, you're gonna
at
have to do that
people on
one
that,
without
yeah.
me because I took one college class and was like, "Yep, I'm
Yep,
good."
not for me.
Not
Yeah.
for me. I'm gonna have to
So,
sell my body out here in this motherfucker because this is not gonna work out.
yep,
I
start
can do
shaking
that.
it. Yeah, you're
No, I
getting that.
don't need to shake it. You do not. No, world don't need that. World don't need that at all.
Get that weight off and start shaking it. There's your side hustle. So I got this comment. Nick G, how the F
I'm
do
gonna
you
turn
deal
my
with women
AC on
who
real quick.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Nick G, how the F do you deal with women who want to be with you and confirm that by asking me if I'm free, etc., and staying at their houses, and then you have sex with them a few times and they flip a switch and ghost? That used to happen to me all the time, actually. So this is where like a girl's showing super high indicators of interest. She's really into you. She's responsive. She's receptive. She's definitely attracted to you. I always say attraction and availability are two big things you want to look at. But if she's always available, then yes, you can assume she's attracted to you. This happened to me a couple summers ago when I was living in El Salvador, to where I was just fucking smashing through girls. And my lay rate's still exactly the same as it was then as it is today, but now I've got the systems in place to I don't have to think about them. But like once I made some small changes in my dating sequence and how I went about it, and learn how to properly learn how to set up my Tinder, learn how to get it to Instagram, learn how to text, learn that text is just for logistics. I've got another tab here, a guy that I shared some screenshots with a girl I hooked up with the other day. And he's like, bro, what the hell? You didn't even talk about what you're going to do. I'm like, well, no, I didn't need to, because you get to a point in the system where you cut out as many unnecessary steps as you need. Like years ago in dating, I used to follow the 7-hour rule. So like 7 hours, like that was a mystery concept. By 7 hours, you'll have enough rapport with her to where she'll sleep with you. And turns out, whether it was over the course of 3 dates on 3 different occasions, or maybe one night that extended into a longer night, we did like 3 venue changes. I used to follow those rules and be like, sure enough, at hour 7, I always got laid. And then, oh, well, maybe I don't need to do the 2. Maybe I don't need to do the venue change. Maybe I can just do 1 venue. Maybe I don't even need to do dinner anymore. Maybe I can just do the coffee. And then I got to the point, not last summer, the previous summer here in Mexico, where I started getting girls straight to the house. And I actually did that in El Salvador too. Every now and then a girl would be like, hey, let's go get a coffee. All right, cool. We'll go down here at the corner. And then it happens so many times where the girl's like, hey, we don't need a coffee. Let's just go to your house. I'm like, okay, well, then I'm not going to suggest coffee if it's not necessary to move it along the steps of the process. So I got really good at that part. Could get the first day lay really easily, but then retention was a big thing for me. So when I started going on Rich Cooper's channel about a year and a half ago. I was kind of going through that phase. I went away from the red pill type topics for a while and came back to them. I'm like, God, I got to figure out this retention thing. Like it gets to the point where you're banging all these new chicks, but then every now and then you come across one, you're like, hey, I actually like this girl. I really enjoy her, and I want to see more of her. And I don't want her to be just a friends with benefits. I want to travel with her. I want to go to concerts with her. I want to go out to nice dinners with her. I want to have shared experiences with her and get to know her more as a person. And then all of a sudden, like you see on Instagram, oh yeah, I have a new boyfriend, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Why didn't she choose me? And then it realized, like, okay, I'm putting myself in the fuckboy category. So that was a big thing for me, like especially with girls you liked. I call it on this channel like always alpha all the time. Like the red pill dogmatic guys get into it, like always got to be Mr. Cool. Always got to, like, if she ever did this, then damn it, I'd drop her. I'd never listen to this. For example, I had a Colombian girl come over yesterday. I've been seeing her off and on for probably about 6 months now. We have a really good relationship, but I hadn't seen her in a month or two because she was trying to date someone else. And then she called me yesterday. She's like, hey, I've had a really hard time these last few days. And Steve, this is topical to the main show topic. We're like, you know what? I've been off for a few days too. And like, I know this girl well enough to where like, it might be beneficial for me just to see her. And then I was like, hey, what's going on? She's like, oh my God. She's like, I'm so embarrassed to tell you. I'm like, well, are you free now? And she manages her own schedule. A lot of expats here, even from other Latin countries, they're entrepreneur types. So her family owns some gyms here, and she's involved in like gym launches and whatever for her folks or her extended family here in Mexico. They're expanding from Colombia to here. And she's like, hey, you know what? Let me change my schedule around a bit. Like yesterday, like 1 p.m. She's like, can I come over now? I'm like, you know what? Let me change some things around too. Like, yeah, I think we can have a really beneficial conversation. So we talked a bit. Turns out like she was seeing some guy for a bit. Like he sold her all the world up front, and then he failed to follow through. So that's a big one. She's like, met the parents and started talking about like to the point where she's like, hey, the first couple of weeks I was like, whoa, guy, fucking slow down. This is what this girl was telling me. But we had a good conversation. I kind of told her about like how I was feeling kind of off during the week. We're both immigrants here, so we have a lot of those shared experiences. And we probably talked for like an hour or two, and then afterward we had amazing sex. I mean, we've like, I know her well enough to where I know how to get her there, but just that emotional relief of getting that stuff off our chest, like that's called comfort building. So if I say that exact thing, and I have before, or something similar on channels like Rich Cooper's, and they're like, all the guys that come, oh, you're a simp, you're a beta, you're like, okay, cool, but you know what? That's why you're getting the lay, and that's why you're not keeping the girl around, because like girls have other core motivational factors other than the sex. Like, yeah, they'll get excited just like you do, especially like if the girl thinks I'm hot and I think she's hot. Yeah, we're gonna have a fantastic time, but try doing that for months at a time. Eventually, you're what you're likely doing, I suspect, is what I fell into, where I was focused on getting new notches and not retaining the girls that I actually enjoyed being around. So try that out. Alpha, always alpha all the time, like Red Pill rules, like, oh, never text her, only text to set logistics. Well, that's one of my rules, but I need to text her at least once every 2 or 3 days. Otherwise, she's going to think I'm not thinking about her. And guess what? If I'm not texting her, I'm not thinking about her. It's like she'll get the message loud and clear. Or if I don't see a new girl at least once a week, then I can't be surprised if all of a sudden I hit her up to hang out and she's like, oh, I have a boyfriend now. I used to be like, oh, what the hell? Well, you're dating multiple guys. Well, like, I'm not taking her seriously. So yes, yeah, absolutely, she's dating other guys. Doesn't mean you're beta. Doesn't mean you're a simp. But it sounds like you're doing a good job getting the initial lay. But in that retention thing, you might want to try some more comfort building type activities. Having the conversations, like, tell me about your day. Tell me about who pisses you off at work. Tell me what's on your mind, girl. Hey, I noticed something's kind of off. Is everything okay with you? Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm dealing with some stuff. Sit down, put your phone down, turn the TV off. Let's hear about it. What's going on with you? And you'll notice that when you get more experience with women, like when you start throwing some fucking numbers on the board, when you're running volume, like I still kind of do, you've already heard this stuff before. You already know what she's going through. She just needs to be able to vent and tell and get that emotional weight off her chest. And if you're able to provide that to her, so now you're the guy, like, okay, now you're the hot guy. Now you're the guy with the money. Now you're the guy that gives her awesome experiences. You're the guy that gives her fucking crazy orgasms like she gets nowhere else. And you're the only guy she can come to with her problems. This girl told me that yesterday. She's like, hey, I have no one else I can talk to about this stuff. Her sister lives here in Mexico. She's kind of a bitch. Her brother-in-law is kind of a douche. Like her parents don't really care. At her work, she's in a position to where she can't have these conversations with coworkers. So she's like, Jaren, I really appreciate this. I haven't been able to have this conversation with anyone else. And then she's usually multi-orgasmic, but right afterwards, and I always ask her, like, how do you feel now? Do you feel better? Did you get everything off your chest? And then she just big old smile. She's like, oh my God, I missed you so much. Went into the more physical act. And at the end, just orgasm after orgasm after orgasm. But I knew that was going to happen because that all starts in the mind. She now feels safe with me. She feels those emotions of comfort and love and attraction all at once. And that kind of primes her for the physical act to where it's going to end the way it ended. And again, when you have experience, know these things. But I'd say you're doing something right at the top of the funnel, but like as you're getting the girl, you're not keeping her for whatever reason. So maybe try, if what I said resonates with you, which it does for a lot of guys, maybe try lightening up a bit. Maybe do some romantic things, some sweet things. Like you don't have to like pay for her cell phone bill or her rent or like adopt her bastard kids or anything, but maybe like, all right, you attracted her by being alpha or more alpha than the rest, but you have to understand why women are attracted to men initially, why women have sex. Like a lot of what they have sex for many different reasons. So you're doing all of those things right. But to keep her around, then you're transitioning more into like relationship type mode. So you have to start developing those relational type skills with women, and that's where a lot of guys screw up, and that's why a lot of guys, happens to me a lot too. I'm like, God, I'm knocking off some really cool chicks, and then I want to retain this one, and she's not showing up anymore. What the hell? And you'll talk to the girl like, this happens with a lot of my girls. I had another girl this weekend too. Haven't seen her in a year. She had a boyfriend for a while, just got out of a relationship, immediately hit me up. Hey, what are you up to? I want to see you. It told me all about the relationship or whatever. And it got to a point I asked the girl, I was like, hey, what the hell? I really liked you. I was kind of surprised when you got a boyfriend. She's like, I just thought you were a fuck boy. Like you're just the hot guy I banged. I didn't understand that. You never communicated that with me. You never set that frame in the relationship. And I wanted something more than just a hot piece of dick every now and then. So, settled, which a lot of girls do, got the boyfriend, and then that didn't work out, and she hit me right back up, and just kind of picked up where we left off. So there's a lot of reasons as to why, but a lot of times it's because you're sending the message that, hey, this is sex only, and then you're not pushing it into that relational territory. That doesn't mean you have to make her a just single long-term relationship. You can do the MLTR type thing, you can do the friends with benefit things, but kind of look at your entire dating sequence, or however you structure your dating life, and start to look at those things like, all right, I'm getting the lays, but I'm not retaining her. Why? Like, what can I do differently in that phase? And that comes later in the process. So congratulations on the success there. But like like anything in life, you always want to keep pushing that envelope a bit. And but it sounds like you're having a retention issue. So if you do look at more follow-up content on this, type in like retention in YouTube is what you want to fix in your dating structure. All right, Steve, you can come back. That was I swear, I mean for these to be simple answers, and it ends up being like a spiel.
That's okay. I learned a lot because
yeah.
I have retention problems.
Yeah, actually, no, yeah, you retain your girls for a while, but you're on a different relationship model than I am currently.
Yeah, either way. I totally did that publicly too. She probably heard it.
Yeah, she's like, what?
She's probably, did he just fake throw up?
She drops the laundry and grabs a glass of wine. She's like,
she's out on a walk, probably listening to our fucking podcast right now, going, when I get home.
I forget sometimes. Yeah, my girls view my content because down here, like if you have a university education, you have to have a certain level of English proficiency. Most of them can't speak it at all. They can process it in real time, but I speak fairly clearly, although I speak quickly to where my girls can understand me in English, because they'll bring up stuff like, hey, you mentioned on this show, or like you mentioned this girl. Who's that girl? I'm just like, yeah, don't fucking worry about it. Yeah. Another question, Jaron, how do you translate when a girl says, what do you have in mind when asking about a first date? You should always have something in mind. So you should set the framework for the date. We can do another topic on this. I'll show you some screenshots and stuff because I've got a group of buddies here. Like we share screenshots and kind of what that looks like. And they'll ask me like, you never told her what you're going to do. I was like, she doesn't need to know. Is there attraction? Yes. Is there attraction? Yes. Is she available? Yes. That's an extension of attraction. Okay. Like, has there been any resistance in the conversation? No. I screen all that shit out in my initial first messages. And then like, okay, when are you free? This date, this time. Cool. Do you need an Uber? Yes, no. Great. I'll send you an Uber. What's your address? Uber comes and like, I'll send this to like my group of guy friends here. Like, dude, you didn't even tell her what you're going to do. I'm like, I don't need to. Like, I've already established that she's falling into my frame.
Care, bro. None of them give a fuck. They don't care what you're going to do at all. Like half the time my girl gets in the car, she just gets in the fucking car and we go do whatever the fuck I planned for us to do because she don't plan shit. Not a single fucking thing. We would never eat if it wasn't for me.
Right. Yeah, there's that weight loss.
Yeah. I mean, I eat very little anyway, so she might be just a fucking bag of bones every week.
But this one, I feel like she's trying to size me up for intentions and effort. Yeah, that very well could be an S test. So like you should always have a plan. You should always know what they're going to do. My first dates, they always look exactly the same. Now some girls differ. I do the 420 snacks and snuggles. I actually haven't been smoking a lot of weed lately, so like a lot of them come over. They never ask like, oh, what the hell? I thought we were going to smoke weed together. That's never a thing. They just come over and then we don't include that part of the equation. But it's the same thing. They come over, I close the door. Hey, what do you want to drink? List off what they have to drink. Take your shoes off. Okay, cool. I have a certain playlist on. I sit on I sit on one side of the couch. She always sits right next to me. I have a fantastic view. At some point, they normally come over to the window and they comment, oh, it's a great view. At that point, I come up behind them, put my hands behind them, kind of lean in a bit. If she's hesitant, then okay, that lets me know when she sits next to me on the couch that I have to start with the finger thing rather than just the kiss. But you gauge all these things out. So like all my first dates look exactly the same. The first date is just qualifying. Straight to the house is to qualify her to see, like, is she worthy to go for like an actual date to go out? Is she worthy? She has to earn that position to where now I'll introduce her to my guy friends here. Now I'll introduce her to my other girlfriends. If she's bisexual and she's really cool and she's down for that, then I'll introduce her to my other girlfriends at some point. But there's an escalation to that point. I think where a lot of guys screw up is that in their head, the end goal is just get laid. Okay, cool. Or like, just get her on a date. I have guys ask me all the time, like, oh, I got her out on a date and then the date didn't work out. I was like, well, was that your end goal? Was your end goal just to get her on the date, or was it to follow it through to the end of the night? for me, at one point, my end goal is like, okay, get her home and bang her. But then it's not that anymore. That's a step in the process to where I actually want her. I want those deep conversations. I want to be able to do trips together. I want to be able to do, if you follow my Instagram, like I'll collaborate with my girls and like we'll have a good time. We'll make like goofy reels and shit and just laugh and tickle each other and have a good time. That's what I want. Sex is a step in getting to that point. Not all girls can get there. A lot of them might fall off after the first date, after the first time you hook up, maybe after the second time. Maybe you're hooking up for 3 months and she falls off. That's not the end goal for me. The end goal is a much deeper, more impactful interpersonal relationship with these girls. I'm just qualifying them at that point. And the qualification, first physical face-to-face meetup, is her coming to the house. If there's not sexual chemistry, guess what? There's not going to be other chemistry. It's just not going to be. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Hey, Joel, I see you coming off and on in the background there. We can bring you up here if you want. Otherwise, I'll keep clearing out comments. Yeah, it's funny as you stream. As we get deeper into the streams, the conversation gets more and more engaging.
Yeah, I don't have the energy to even fight it anymore.
Yeah, it's fine. So let me see. I'll clear out some comments then. Again, Joel, if you want to come backstage, we can bring
Jake's
you up.
Got a very good point there.
Yeah, asking chicks good deep questions rather than trying to solve their problems. Next level shit. Yeah, I don't try to solve it. For example, the girl yesterday, she's like, hey, I've got a few things I need to get off my chest. So she told me 3 different stories. Like, okay, the failed attempt at the relationship, a story like something about like the issues she has with her sister and her brother-in-law, and then something else like she's trying to sell an apartment and her car in Colombia because she can't go back due to her immigration issues. So like all of that headache. Well, I've dealt with all these things before. So they're like, let's go through each of these. And I noticed that there was some core unifying factors. And guys, listen to women. Put your cell phone down, turn the TV off, clear any shit you have out of your head. Try to overcome that urge to solve her problems for her and listen to what she has to say. And that usually most people have the solution to their problems within the stories they're telling about their problems, myself included. I'll listen to myself back. I'm like, oh yeah, there's the answer. Like I just gave it and didn't realize it at the time. But I noticed some core unifying themes in these 3 different things she was dealing with all at once, and asked her like, hey, like I don't think you realize it, but I realized it pretty immediately. Is this what's really bothering you? And then she's like, her eyes lit up. She's like, oh my God, yes. And like, all right, so what you experience, like, yes, it all sucks. Like you're going through some unfortunate things right now in certain areas of your life, but it centers down to this thing right here. Am I off base? Am I correct? And then she's like immediately she's like, oh yeah, it's absolutely that. Like, okay, so now let's look at that issue, and then if you fix that issue, you figure out that issue, then the other things just go away. Those are just byproducts or extensions of this one unifying issue that you've communicated to me through these 3 different areas of your life in which you're experiencing difficulty. And those are the types of conversations they want to have. I can guarantee you she's not having that conversation with the ex-boyfriend. She's not having that conversation with other dudes she's meeting on Tinder. It's just not happening. So, okay, like I can, again, like maybe a lot of guys get confused for this. Like, am I her best? Like, I know that she's not having these same experiences with me as she's other guys. So that's how you keep him or keep them. There's a reason these girls like they don't want to be shared a lot of times, especially these Latin girls. A lot of them want like an actual relationship. But when that fails, inevitably, and most of the time they do, because most guys don't know what the fuck they're doing, they come right back to me. And I know that. And they know that. So that's how you get them to that level. Thanks, bro. That was 100% accurate. And there have been girls recently I want to keep around, but they don't want to be around. So I'll take your advice and ask more about them, be romantic, etc. Yeah, I'd say that's a good starting point because you have to develop relationship skills. Otherwise, it's just sex for them, and that novelty is going to wear out really fast. And as a guy, that happens to me too. That there's points where like, God, I'm tired of just like a bunch of one-night stands. I kind of want a solid girl. Steve and I were talking about this. I want a girl that can stay all weekend and we just have a good time, like a girlfriend experience for the weekend, and then do that once or twice a month. And that's what I want ideally in my relationships.
That's ideal for like the majority of dudes.
That's ideal for a lot of girls too. I say this on Rich Cooper's show all the time, and people blow me up in the comments. Like, not all girls want to get married. They don't all want like sometimes that TradCon white picket fence story. And a lot of girls like, okay, yeah, I banged a girl at a foam cannon party in Cancun a bit ago, but in that context, that makes sense. But if that girl, I think she was from Chicago, she's back in Chicago and she's grinding out 6 months at her corporate job, not even thinking about her next vacation. She might not want a guy that she just meets at a party and screws within 20 seconds of knowing him. It took like more like 2 minutes, but within minutes of knowing him, she probably wants something that's like maybe 1 to 2 times a month or maybe once a week. So you got to kind of figure out that cadence too. A lot of my favorite girls, they're busy as fuck. They don't have days they can dedicate to me, and I don't have days I can dedicate to them, but we see each other once every week, 2 weeks or so, and that cadence works really well to where they look
It's
forward to
actually a
seeing
really
me,
good
and I look
point
forward to
that I'm
seeing
not
them.
going to touch on. Yeah, that's
Yep.
a really good point. I can't touch on at this time, but I will
Uh-huh.
very, very soon. I think that should actually be, that alone should be a topic.
Yeah, I'm gonna start taking notes actually because there's been a couple in these comments where I'm like, yeah, we'll do a video on this, and then
Managing,
yeah,
because at the end of the day, guys, like this isn't about getting chicks necessarily. Like there's too much fucking attention placed on that. Like chicks are going to be attracted to you based off the type of guy you are in general, right?
mm-hmm.
Like, and they're just kind of a consequence of being and exceptional, I guess. I mean, or at least on your way to exceptional, because really the bar is set so low for men that if you're not a fucking fat dick and you have something going on with your life, you're pretty much in the top 30%. And
There's
chicks,
not a lot of competition, guys. Like the
yeah, I
bar is
mean,
really low.
if you can see your dick when you pee and you brush your teeth and you fucking have a great job or have a decent job or you're working on something or you're passionate about something, don't be afraid to share that because, dude, there's not that many people out there that give a fuck. Like, for real, give a fuck. Like, there's so many basic dudes on this planet. It's unfucking believable to me, in fact.
Mm-hmm. A couple more comments. Jake, be specific on the retention videos you're looking for on YouTube. Oh yes, yeah.
The other ones
another
wouldn't hurt
topic trending.
either,
Yeah,
but yeah, totally.
that's a big one actually. No
Yeah.
one, girls never believe this, and they say this to me. They're like, oh, you don't watch porn, you don't watch prawn. I'm like, no, I haven't watched that shit. In like, it's been like 6 or 7 years now. I'm like, oh, you don't do like they'll ask oh we're watching what were we watching? We were watching a movie last night. Oh, it's the new Kevin Hart movie with Mark Wahlberg on Netflix.
Anytime.
Yeah, to where like right when the family took off, he goes to the room for like a jack off session, and then the little daughter walks in, and the girl next to me, she's like, "Oh my god, how embarrassing! Has that ever happened to you?" I was like, I don't jack off." She's like,
Yeah.
"What? Are you kidding?" I was like, but in my head, I'm like, I've had 3 different girls in the last 3 days, and they haven't seen me in a while, so they don't want to just bang me once. They want like unlimited sex, and like I have a shelf life. I mean, there's only so many nuts you can get out in
Yeah.
a day before your junk just stops working. It's like I don't need to. But it's more for an energy thing too. Like the movie, there's something about Mary years ago that came out. Like, oh yeah, always squeeze out a nut before you go out, so you're not anxious. For me, no, I want to take a day or two off of getting laid. If I'm going to go out to a nightclub, I want that like that, got a hunt type energy in me.
Well,
If
that's
I'm
natural for
if I'm
men in the
laying around,
first place.
yeah, if I'm laying around smoking weed and just jacking my dick all the time, like that's just an energy drain. Like it's an energy drain when you bang a chick
Sounds like a
too,
great way to
but
go to sleep.
but it's also an energy exchange. So I
Yeah,
give her my energy, but I get her energy too.
exactly. Yeah, but
So
that
yeah,
whole fucking jerk off and take a nap, that doesn't sound that bad sometimes.
there's a reason. Like I said, I structure my day a very certain way. Yes, we can do a video on that, but there's a reason. Usually about 7-8 p.m. is when I'll play guitar for an hour. I'll smoke a J. Haven't been smoking lately. When I find myself in anxiety type phases, or like if I'm in a rut, everything goes out. Like there's no smoking, drinking, any of that kind of shit. But usually, like I'll smoke a bit of a spliff. I'll play guitar for like an hour. I'll have a girl come over. I'll bang her stupid. We'll eat and then we'll fall asleep. Like that's my shutdown sequence because I'm wired in a way to where if I don't do those things, then I'm just not sleeping. Like my brain is just going to keep calculating shit for me.
Yeah,
Even if I tell it to
I
stop,
don't
it's not
quite
going to
have
do
that
that.
sequence right now, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I call it the shutdown sequence. What if they're 420 friendly and I'm not? That happens a lot down here where I'm at. So the response, I learn a lot of my game from actual shit that I hear from girls. So the response that girls give down here is like, "Hey, I don't do that, but it's cool. But I don't have any problem if you do." And that's usually how you want to take it. I'm too shy to jump on. Dude, yeah, jump on, guys. Get up here. I mean, we're going a little longer now, but yeah, if you want to get up here, feel free for it. Joel, I don't understand StreamYard. I'm new. Like you're more than welcome to jump on here.
Press the fucking play button.
Yeah, Jaron, how many hours on average a week do you
That's
spend dealing with women, dates, phone calls, streaming, etc.?
who streams? Who
Depends on the
streams?
week. So probably in terms of prospecting, it depends. I'm using my iPhone as a camera now, so I can't show you
Who
like my
can't
Tinder, but
do it?
yeah, but for Tinder, like I'll go through like in a block where I have downtime. Like if I have like 30 minutes between activities, but I don't want to task switch rapidly back and forth, then I'll get on Tinder and I'll like swipe a new sequence of them. Usually I live in a population dense area, so I get a lot of matches. Usually, if I open a block of 20 matches, that'll guarantee I get one through. Usually, I can get three girls from a block of 20 new conversations. Half of them will respond. Of that half that responds, like half of them will set dates with me. A good percentage of those will flake. The ones that don't flake that come through, I usually convert most of my most of my new dates into new lays. I convert almost all of them because I screen them out earlier in the conversation. That's why my response rate probably could be higher if I want to go back and forth and text or whatever. But I want to filter chicks out as fast as possible. So now I'd say I probably spend maybe an hour a week tops prospecting. I do all my messaging in blocks. So at some point, like I've got a bunch of unread messages in WhatsApp and Instagram or whatever, what now. So maybe half an hour to an hour going through and just blocking out the messages, moving the girl through the sequence just to indicate, okay, is she available? When is she available? And then I have like an Evernote tab that I pull out and I schedule them in for the week. So I'd say maybe that's another hour. And then in terms of actually meeting up with them, 2 to 3 hours a day where I'm actually like focused my energy on them to where like we're talking and we're engaging or like we're having sex or we're doing whatever. And then after that, usually it's just like me laying down and she laying next to me and we're watching something on TV as we're falling asleep. So I don't really count that as like time. That's whether my day looks the same whether a girl's a part of it or not, and I've structured my day very specifically for that reason. So I'd say dedicated time to women, like actual dedicated time, maybe a few hours a week. She just kind of comes into my fold or my frame, and we take it from there. Um, do you have girls overnight, or is that a liability when it comes to family law? I live in Mexico, so like none of that shit exists here. Like in any of the rules change when your context changes. So I hear a lot of your red pill dogmatic alpha type guys like never let the girls stay the night. Okay, well, if you don't let Latin girls stay the night, then that you will have a retention issue. That will communicate very clearly to them that you just use them for sex. They will regret it. That they don't have Me Too or any of that bullshit down here, but in the U.S., a lot of guys that find themselves in that situation, it's because they regret having done that with you afterwards because your follow up is either not there or it's subpar. That's where you get into problems. For me, I sleep with girls I actually like as human beings, and I get pretty good quality here too for myself. So
Some people
so
don't
yeah,
have that luxury, Jaron.
well you can work on yourself and get to that point. It's not hard.
I had to
I,
say it.
I weighed 300 pounds in high school and couldn't get the fat chick to give me a blowjob. So I went from that to not having any problems. Let's just say that. So you can do it.
I haven't experienced that kind of pain yet. But.
Yeah, right. But yeah, the overnight thing. Some girls can't. Like a lot of them are still real conservative down here, so they have to they live with their mom and dad until they're married. So they have to go home, or they have weird work hours here. Mexico's kind of like Japan, where they work really long hours that doesn't quite translate into the pay they deserve. So a lot of the schedules are weird here that might prevent that. But I did a lot of younger girls too, so they'll have multiple days off a week, or like I think the girl I have coming over tonight. She to respond. Yep, she's a hostess, so she's not off till 11:30. I'm like, oh, that's kind of late. Probably try to squeeze someone else in, but if I'm in creative mode and she hits me up at 11:30, like, hey, I'm off and I still have a few hours in me, then like, yeah, come over. So like those types of girls, like this girl, she won't work until like 5 p.m. tomorrow. She comes over tonight, she'll stay the night. So yeah, I don't have any steadfast or hard rules. Like you can't stay the night. And in fact, I always invite them to stay the night. Usually I'll use the line like, hey, bring your PJs. And then a lot of times the girls will be like, oh, I don't need PJs. I'd rather sleep naked with you. You're like, all right, cool. But that's just to let her know, like, I'm not going to kick you out. I don't really get any hesitation anymore for straight to the house first dates. But when I did, like, oh, I don't want to go straight to the house. Like, oh, hey, you know what? I'm working a lot. I usually keep it chill during the week. And you know what? I want to make sure that you're the type of girl that can hang out with me during the week before I start planning stuff to do on the weekends. And then usually she's like, "Well, yeah, I don't know, but I normally don't do this." I was like, "Hey, bring your PJs. We don't have to do any sexual stuff. You know, we'll just have a PJ party." And then the girls are just like, "Okay, you know, they use emoticons, so like the bright smiley face or something like that." So usually I use the line like, "Hey, bring some PJs." And the girl will either say for that line, "Hey, I can't stay the night, I got to get up earlier," like, "Hey, you know, I have a curfew. Curfews are still a thing down here." Like, completely understandable, don't get mad, she's not lying to you. Like, her dad will call her, and you don't want pissed off Mexican dads or brothers or cousins after you. Don't do that shit. Or she'll be like, "Oh, sounds awesome," and then you just completely overcome that objection. But what they really want to do, that they want to make sure they're just not getting used, that they don't want to be like a one and done pump and dump type thing, depending upon the context. Now, for example, if you're at a resort in Cancun, like I was a few weeks ago, then obviously I'm not going to like marry these girls, or we're not going to take them out to a fancy dinner. I'm going to pull her from a fucking nightclub and we're going to smash. Like, that's why she's there. That's what you do at those places. So
Insert techno music.
yeah, right. Let's see. Got a couple more. Yeah, now we get more engagement. Women are exhausting at AF. Listen to how mathematical scientific this all sounds. I'm naturally mathematical and scientific, so
Yeah, I don't
it's like,
sound like it, but I am too.
yeah, so it's like you figure this stuff out and then you just go back retroactively and try to break it down. You're like, oh yeah, how did like that used to be a problem for me? How did I figure that out? But once you get experience, you just kind of know. Like I don't spend a lot of time thinking about women. Like when the one hit me up yesterday, "Hey, I've been going through some difficult times." She literally said in the text, "I could use a friend right now." Now, red pill dogmatic me would have been like, "Oh, stupid bitch, go talk to someone else. I'm not gonna be your shoulder to cry on." Okay, I knew it had to do with some kind of guy. I saw her like posting stories on Instagram 2 weeks before. Like the guy looks like an idiot. She's also hanging out with a friend who's kind of dumb, like not a good friend for her, kind of fell back into that thing. So like I know the girl well enough to know what's going on in her life, even if I haven't seen her in a bit. It's like, oh, I could really use a friend right now. I was like, you know what? Yeah, you know, I haven't seen you in a bit. Yeah, come on over, chat. You know, realize I worked in the day, so but she already knows this, and she works a lot too. So changed our schedules around a bit. She came over, you know, had a heart to heart talk, and then afterwards, fantastic, just mind blowing, earth shattering sex. I hadn't seen her in a while either, so obviously it creates that kind of spark
friends,
also.
by the way, Jaren is exactly the reason why girls can't have guy friends. Girls
Exactly that. Yep. Exactly that. Which girls down here are usually pretty good about that. Latin girls, they're usually pretty good. Like, "Hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in like a week or two. You know, let's hang out." "Oh, I'm seeing someone now, and I want to take it serious." Like, "All right, cool." And I always let them know, like, "Hey, let me know if that changes." That's always my line. And then usually the girls do one of two things down here. They won't tell you for the first 3 months. They'll use the first 90 days as a probationary period. And then all of a sudden you'll see on Instagrams like, "Oh my God, you know, happy 6 month anniversary." Is like, "Hey, I was banging you 3 months ago. What the fuck, girl?" And then like they'll literally tell you, "Oh, first 90 days don't count." Or they take it really serious for the first 90 days. And then by about like the 3 to 6 month mark, she might be kind of on the fence. Either they'll break up or she will cheat. And then at that 6 month mark, she'll make that determination whether, all right, I'm gonna make a go at this, or like, yeah, fuck that guy. I'll go back to Jaren, who I was banging
really
before.
Interesting system that I don't entirely mind. Actually,
It works well for me.
Ultra practical, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like it. When you were saying it, I was like, I vibe with that. Like, first 90 days don't count.
Yep.
Makes sense. Yeah, because you're usually a fuck
a
off.
lot of girls do that. It used to bug me. I'm like, "Oh, I really like this girl." I'm like, "Hey, what the hell? You had a boyfriend this whole time?" She's like, "Well, yeah, we were." She's like, "Yeah, but we just got together." And they'd almost say it to me like I'm the idiot, like I'm the person who's in the fault for having an issue with this. And that now I just understand. Hey, I'm starting to see someone. Like, okay, cool. And then usually it's like,
4 months.
yeah, exactly
Yeah,
that.
okay,
Yeah,
got the math down. See,
yeah,
science
yeah.
and math. That's me.
Yep. First 90 days is a probationary period for a lot of women.
That's funny.
Let's see. Yeah, I've been really surprised since I started dating after my divorce. It's like fish in a barrel out there. If you've got your shit together as a man, they love telling you about
really
it too.
Fucking is.
Yeah, so Paul Benjamin, Apex Mindset, talks a lot about the whole cucking type thing. Women love showing you the losers they've dated before. So for example, like the girl I had over yesterday, and then there's two girls this weekend that I haven't seen in a while that I hung out with. And I'm actually curious too. I know a lot of guys it's like, "Oh, yo, don't ever do that." But I'm curious. Like I'm a marketer, and the dating market is a market, and I want to understand what the market looks like and where I fit into it. I already kind of know now because I have the experience. But But a lot of times girls will show you these guys and then you're like, oh, like that guy don't have shit compared to me. Because guys will ask you like, oh, how do you get girls straight to the house? I'm like, have you seen their other options? You don't have to mention anything. You don't have to sell them on it.
Like the only decent car on a used car lot, bud.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna sell out quick.
Yeah, it's gonna sell itself. You don't have to do anything.
So
just
funny.
be better than the rest. And like again, the bar's so low. I mean, you really don't have to try that hard. Just do something. For block messaging girls, I've been making liberal use of scheduled send messages. Take a few minutes to draft messages to various girls, schedule to send whenever it needs to, and you're done. Yeah, I've got a lot of buddies here. They put like they pre-program like the texting prompts in their phone. Most of my messages look pretty much the same too. For Tinder or Bumble or whatever to Instagram, it's the same texting sequence. From there to get them to the house, it's the same exact texting sequence. Sometimes it deviates a bit, but you always want to get them back on right on path to where you want that conversation to go. And texting is really just about getting them in front of you face to face. Like don't worry about having a text conversation. Like you want to either qualify them, disqualify them as fast as possible, get them face to face, and that's when the relationship starts. Like there's no comparison to face-to-face interaction. That they can feel your energy, they can see you. Like you can't hide who you are. Yes, you can, but you're going to blow out your date if you do that. So that's the goal of texting. Texting is to get her in person.
Too many
from
guys
there,
are trying to get titty pics instead of seeing their titties in real life.
Oh yeah. I love when girls do that. Like, well, girls will send you nudes too, just to get your attention. Like, oh hey, I haven't heard from this guy in a bit, and there you
here's
go.
my pussy. Well, nice to see you. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I had a Venezuelan girl do that earlier today. It sent me like a nice little 45-second little sexy dance sequence. I'm like, hey, you free tonight?
That's a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you free tonight? I'm like, sure. Yeah.
45 seconds of effort for real. I mean, that's 45 seconds.
Yeah, right. But
just get 4K bead curtains over here.
Although I'm sure a lot of these girls, and like guys, if we're honest with this too, like you have some good of those types of photos or videos or sequences or whatever that you have saved, and you send to the same fucking person, or you send the same thing to like,
like 2015.
Yeah, if a chick asks me for a D pic, like I'm not. Well, hold on, sweetheart. I'm gonna get up and like adjust the ring lighting and like, all right, let's get the angle. Like, no, I've got some good ones.
You'll just on the table.
You'll get one of those. Yeah, yeah. I'm not dick pic camera ready.
Dude, I can't even get ready like that.
Yeah, like on command. Like I gotta stage the shot. Like no, we're not doing that.
That's fucking awesome.
But yeah, for messaging chicks, I normally do it in blocks. That seems to make it, because otherwise, especially when you start doing volume, you're going to get messages all day long. And if you respond to every message every time you get one on any app, then you're not going to get anything else done. Yeah.
You're gonna need
like my phone's literally being used in my camera right now, so like I haven't checked anything in almost 3 hours. Don't worry, she's still going to be there. She's not going anywhere if she likes you. Now, if she's looking to like just get a dinner out of you or something, then yeah, whatever guy says yes to her proposition first, she'll go for it. But you know what? I schedule my system that way. 420 snacks and snuggles. The girl, the least path of resistance is the girl that's going to win, that agrees to that experience with me. Let's see next one. Where should I start to improve my Instagram profile? I have one photo on it of me at a wedding, and probably should upload more photos.
More photos is probably a good start.
Definitely. I've got plenty of videos on my channel. Go to my channel, like, subscribe, all that shit if you haven't done so already. There should be an online dating playlist, and I think there's an Instagram playlist also, to where I go deep into detail with that stuff. And then eventually I'll put a whole course together for this dating type stuff. I've got a lot of premium content I need to do, but the resiliency thing, I'm getting caught up in other smaller scale bullshit that I need to outsource and get those workflows done for, so I can have more time to do courses and premium stuff. But I also want to expand my reach on the channel before I start putting a lot of time and effort into this and having no one buy it once it gets to that point. But yeah, feel free to check out the online dating playlist, Instagram playlist on my channel. There's some good stuff there. Those are some of my more popular videos where I break it down kind of more academically with like a PowerPoint presentation, all that good stuff. But that'll give you a really good starting point. And if you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up directly, because I do write down all these questions. I take everything you guys have to say in consideration, because I need to start developing products and make sure that we're delivering. Well, I mean, technically, Steve, we're whores. You and I are products right now. We're trying to deliver something of value to the audience. So definitely feel free to make it a two-way street. Engage with us, interact with us, and let us know where we can help you. But the playlist is a good starting point.
Just because I've been in retirement for 2 years doesn't mean I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That's for sure.
Mhm.
I don't
Let's
think I
see.
can teach it though, because I'm just fucking that guy. I don't know.
I can teach it, but it's been so long since I went through the process of figuring out the process that I have to reverse engineer it. If that makes sense.
I understand exactly what you're
Like,
saying.
dude, like other foreigner, like I speak Spanish really well, so a lot of other foreign guys will ask me Spanish stuff here, and I don't remember why you say it that way. I learned it 20 years ago in school, but like
Yeah,
that's just how you say it in that
it's a passive
situation.
language to you anymore. You just speak it.
Mhm. So, big fan of Paul Benjamin stuff. Yeah, Paul's fantastic. He's definitely advanced in the dating type topics, and he gets really into like how women think, how men think, why they think, where that came from,
I haven't watched any of his shit.
and then he's more focused on now. I think he's at this phase in his life. He's a little older than me, and building solid relationships. Whereas my goal is to have happy, healthy relationships, but I still talk a lot about like the tactical side of the dating market. Whereas I think Paul's more into like building like actual depth and connection with members of the opposite sex. He's very good at that stuff. So definitely check him out. Path of least resistance, that sums it up perfectly. Like, why would he want an uphill battle? I get girls every now and then do that. Like, oh, hey, I live in this part of town. You live in that part of town. Let's meet halfway. No, come to my place. Do you need an Uber? Oh, well, I work in your area. Come visit me at work. Oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a bartender. Like, I'm not gonna come sit at your bar while you're working to try to get to know you. Like, no, that's just no. She's just not interested, or she's not interested as much as the girl who's like, hey, what are you up to? I got nothing going on. Oh, cool. Do you want to come over? Yeah, sweet. What are we gonna do? 420 snacks and snuggles. Okay, cool. Like, when are you free? Now. Okay, sweet. Send me an Uber. Yep, great. Here it is. Like, which one are you going to choose between those two situations as a guy who has other shit to do with his time?
Yeah, there's also never mind. I was gonna say that, but now I'm gonna say it. There's also times where the path of least resistance will get you shot, and I don't mean shot as in like literally shot, but you will be the path of least resistance leads to the dead shit. But I guess in this context, I'm wrong because you're right. It is kind of a doofus thing to do to go sit at some girl's work and
Oh yeah, every now and then they'll
try to
try to
get
do
to
that
know
here.
her.
Come to my
First
work.
off, girls
I'm a
aren't interested
hostess
at
at
all.
Hooters.
So
I'm like,
yeah,
okay, what time are you off? I'll order you an Uber to your restaurant and you just come stay the night here. Like, what are we doing?
yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
But again, guys, once you figure it out, like these things don't really happen too often. It kind of warps your view. You'll go on like these content creators channels and you'll hear these things because it gets clicks. Like, what to do if she goes here, or what happens if she changes plans suddenly. Yeah, that will happen, but you figure out how to deal with that, and then all of a sudden, it's like once you figure out how to deal with it, it's precisely once you figure out what to do when that happens, to where it just doesn't happen anymore. You're like, okay, like
So, Jaron, if we're gonna equate this to batting average, are you Hall of Fame or are you just average?
I'm definitely Hall of Fame.
I figured you'd say that, but I'm like, this is not a game. Like, it's not a game of perfection. Like,
Uh-uh.
you're not gonna go 1,000
Yeah,
for
it's
1,000.
baseball.
You're not gonna bat a
Yeah.
thousand. Like
Yeah, no,
3 is
I'm
perfect.
definitely up there. I'm batting 400 to 500 from open. Well, it depends. Like
Those are solid numbers, my friend.
from open to close, it's usually 1 to 10, like in the dating. So like sometimes it'll be 8 to 10, sometimes it'll go as high as 13 to 10, or 13 to 1. I'm sorry, 8 to 1, 13 to 1. So if I have 8 leads, then I'll convert one of them. That can fluctuate between 8 to 13 usually for me. If I open, like I said, if I open a batch of 20 girls, guaranteed I will get one of them. Sometimes like the stars don't align right, and I'm like, oh shit, like these girls aren't responsive in this
You just
batch.
got flushed.
I'll take it to 30. I'll take it to 40. I've never gone over 40. I've never had to open more than 40 girls to get laid like 2 night or 2 day. Usually if you open a batch of 20 chicks, you can get one in an Uber within an hour. It's not always true. It depends on time of day, time of week. This last week, it was kind of dead here, but the girls that were in town were all other foreign girls. So they didn't have shit going on either. The whole country shut down. So there's some good options there.
Yeah.
So that really depends. Open to close, safe rules usually like one out of 10. That's a day game, night game, online game, whatever. In terms of the conversations that go from text conversations to dates, usually I'm like 1 out of 3 for that. Or Yeah, so for every 3 girls, I have like I take it offline to text or whatever. Like they'll agree to meet up and actually meet up, and then usually from that point, and I've got filters into where I can screen out their interests or determine their interests. And when you have multiple options, you always schedule the girl and give the girl priority that makes you the biggest priority. So
Yeah,
that means like when they show up straight to the house, it's very rare that they don't end up closing. Like that's near 1,000% batting average for girls that come to the house and we hook
I
up.
think that there's a
Usually that's a guarantee.
and yeah, you kind of get to that point as long as you're not a fucking creeper, you don't stink or some weird shit.
Exactly that. So like the type of girl that agrees to come straight to your house, she knows that that is an option on the table. Girls are not stupid. She understands that that is where the night is leading.
Insinuated 100%
Yeah, exactly.
of the time
It's
through the
exactly that.
transaction. That's
So
what it is.
all you have to do as a guy is not screw up. And a lot of girls, especially down here, they've had bad experiences with
Yeah,
guys before. So when they show up and actually see me face to face and they see this beautiful view and guys, when you have experience with girls, girls can feel that too. So usually when they show up, it used to be like when I was newer to these topics, it used to be like they'd show up and you'd have to like kind of like ease them into it. A lot of times now it's they show up and like they're ready to go. I had a girl Miss Teen Mexico from a couple of years ago came over Friday night, I believe it was. She got out of the Uber and like we went to give like the pachurar, like the kiss on the cheeks, which is custom greeting between opposite sexes down here. So I went to give the kiss on the cheek and she just went right on the lips and she's like oh god, and then she apologized. She's like oh my god, I'm so sorry. And like in my head, I'm like this girl's ready to go. Like there's gonna be no hesitation there, and there was not. We had a very good time, but
that's
again
ideal.
you build that all into your texting sequence. You build that like you look at the entire conversion process like a
Never even
sales and
thought about
marketing
it
funnel, and you
like that.
build the funnel correctly to where
Never even thought about it like
yeah, like I'm not getting a client on a closing call when I haven't done their basic pre-qualifying questions. Like I'm not going to offer them $100,000 loan
that.
when they have like 2 tax liens against them and like some really fucked up credit. Like you screen that out in the initial
Yeah,
conversation. That's what your
that's
text
true.
game's for.
Yeah, well, so this is where we differ as far as marketing and sales, right?
Mhm.
You're a marketing guy, I'm a sales guy. So what do
I
I do?
disqualify leads as fast as
I
possible.
do, yeah, right. But I hammer the lead until I get it done.
Mhm.
Like I'm follow up king.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I disqualify leads as fast as possible.
Oh yeah, I mean that's easy. I didn't even. That's not even part of what I was thinking. Yeah, you kind of just
That's just kind of best practice. Yeah, you
yeah.
don't want to entertain shit leads.
No, no, yeah, we can. I'll stop there. But yes, it's 100% of the time is you disqualify them and then you go and go and go and go and go and go until you either get it or you don't. Yes.
All right. Well, speaking of which, guys, if you want to get up here real quick, we're hitting about that 3 hour mark, so we'll probably start wrapping up soon. Let us, if you have any final last words of inspiration, of wisdom, things you agree with, disagree with, leave it in the chat. If you're watching this on playback, if you made it almost 3 hours in the stream and you haven't left a comment or liked the channel or subscribed to the channel, there's
You're
something
lazy
wrong with you as a
bigger G.
person. Yeah, it's all free. Give us some love. We've given you 3 hours of fucking content. Like the channel, subscribe, leave any
3
comments
hours
down
of
below, all that
pure
good stuff.
nonsense.
When you do subscribe, ring the notification bell. You also have to go into your settings and set this channel to receive all notifications. I am indeed being throttled by YouTube. That has been verified. You guys mentioned Paul Benjamin, same exact situation. Video blows up within the first hour, coming out the gate like shit. Yeah, this is going viral, and then YouTube catches you like, no, you're not. We will never present this video to another single eyeball for
Literally.
as long as on this platform.
We
Like,
had that one
what
that
the
was
fuck,
like
though?
1,800 views in an hour or some shit like that. And
It's
then
still at 1,800 views. Yep.
it's still at 1,800 with a
Yep.
7% click through. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've got one like 12.6% click through rate, which if you're over 10%, that video is getting pushed in front of new audiences.
Maybe we should put that on
Not my videos.
Maybe we should put that on our pod
New,
channel.
probably a newer channel. That's not a bad idea. Maybe bench test the videos on this channel. Yeah, test the videos on this channel. The ones that get throttled, delete them and put them on a new channel that doesn't have the weight behind it. I mean, they do eventually, but I've got videos on this channel that again they're not like viral, but they just consistently get clicks time over time. Like my first 5 videos are all like that. My Instagram videos are like that. I mean, they're not going to blow up overnight, but they'll get like 2 to 3,000 views per year. And as long as I have the channel, they'll just keep getting those views.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. One thing I found that escalates things to the next level is if you're going for a drive with a girl, you haven't done stuff with it yet, lean over and kiss her at a red light. Oh yeah, I do stuff like that too, and I'll hold her hand or put it on
I
her
like
lap or
that.
put her hand on my lap. A lot of guys are afraid to do this. A lot of times, like the girl's just as nervous, if not more, than you are. So that's why you really got to
Oh,
be a
yeah.
man. Always assume attraction. I've got some follow up messages offline or off the stream for that. But guys ask me all the time, like, "Hey, you didn't even mention this to her. Like, how'd she just do it?" I'm like, "Well, I assume attraction. I assume that if you're going to take an Uber across town and come to my house, like, you're game. It's on. We're going to do it, right? Like, what that sequence looks like once she's face to face, that differs with every single girl. But usually I assume attraction. So like a lot of girls, if she's sitting next to me and we're making out, and all of a sudden she like kind of pulls back and we keep watching TV or something, and you can feel her energy too. A lot of times I'll just take her hand and like put it on my chest or put her hand on my leg to kind of let her know, like, hey, go, don't hold back, girl. Go for it. So yeah, and again, you become more attuned to these things as you start getting more experience. Whether that's experience with the same girl, although all girls are quite a bit different. So that's why I always recommend guys like play the field for a little bit. You don't have to do it your whole life if that's not what you want to do, but get some experience. Get some wins under your belt, so you know how to. So you kind of work out all these what if type scenarios. That way, when they pop up, you know exactly what to do because you've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, your future girlfriend will appreciate you knowing how to game chicks too.
Yeah, girls love guys
They
that
actually,
get it.
they actually like it, believe it or
It
not.
turns them on. I've gotten to the point too, like I mentioned on Rich's channel. Guys will be like, "Oh, if she has 100+ notch counts," like, you know what? When I hook up with girls that know how to fuck, it is so nice because I don't have to I don't have to teach them things. I don't have to take them to new levels. Like they know how to touch a man. They
Such
know
a
how to give a
weird
BJ. They
concept.
know how to make out. They know how to get you there, and I know how to get her there. So, and you
Yeah,
can usually I'm smiling ear to ear, like I'll lay back, like, and I'm looking at the girl, I'm like, yeah, like this girl knows what she's doing, and she knows that I know she knows what she's doing too. So it's really, really just quite fun. I did a private post in the top 10% group the other day, like in Red Pill, they talk about like alpha, beta. I don't really use that terminology more. There's guys who fuck and there's guys who don't fuck. That's pretty much all you need to know about men.
yeah,
Can this
absolutely.
guy satisfy a woman? No. Okay, cool. Like you could be an alpha and not satisfy your woman. You can be a beta and the girl will have a great time. But like, does this guy fuck or does he not fuck? And that's pretty much how I classify guys when I meet them in real life.
Dude,
Like
I, oof,
there's guys in this chat I've met in real life. Like they've been married for like 20 years, but they've got their wife like that. Like I'm like, all right, like hasn't had new pussy in 2 decades, but like that guy knows how to fuck.
yeah,
You don't get a wife that responds like that if you don't know what you're doing.
yeah, that term alpha. You know how I
But
love it.
that's my spiel. That being said, guys, Steve, final thoughts? Do you want to start wrapping it up? We're hitting the 3 hour
I
mark
mean, I
here.
had final thoughts for what we were talking about an hour ago, but I forgot where I was going when
Yeah,
you
we
were
went from resiliency to what Mexican diets
talking
to
females.
structuring
Oh,
businesses and schedules to it went back on the dating topic. So I do enjoy the dating topics. I think
Jake is the only one in this chat who's asked us anything regarding business at all, or asked us to do anything regarding business at all. The
well
rest has been
the
pretty.
the
But
topic was resiliency, and that was kind of the goal of these conversations is to have them more long form, have them free flowing. That way we can take the clips and reels and like start playing the YouTube game and social media game and all
play
that
the
stuff.
YouTube
But
game.
I like free flowing dialogue. That's how real people speak.
Yeah,
So now, guys, you just got to show some love. Like, subscribe, share, enable the notification bell. Leave any comments down below. It helps the algorithm. Share with any friends. Be sure to follow myself or Steve. We've got our Instagrams right down here below. And if you're looking to take this to the next level, if you like, there's a lot of stuff we can't see on YouTube. There's a lot of things I experienced in the last week that probably behind a paywall we can talk about. I'll pull out screenshots on that, guys. I'll show them girls I'm looking at. I'll show them kind of how girls play their game. How do I know this? Because I've talked to multiple girls at any given time, and you can compare and contrast these things. Well, a lot of the stuff you can't do viral. I think I tried on one of my first videos of the show, like, hey guys, look at my Tinder here. I did a live demo of how I do my online game, and like chicks started sending me like pussy pics and shit. Like, I can't do that live, but you can do that behind a paywall. And it's not just dating, by the way. It's for guys looking to level up on all areas of love and life by building lives worth living and loving. Well, you do it here in the top 10%. Men's group, that is a $9.97 lifetime membership. You get access to myself, Rich Cooper, my good buddy Moth, Josh Beasley, Renegade Wingman, and more recently Bentley, who a lot of you guys probably already know, like, and love. So there's a good group of admins there. We've got a ton of new guys joining lately that are really upping the caliber of the conversation. I've been doing a lot more kind of more in-depth posts in terms like we had one last week, for example, just give you a preview. A guy came in, he's like, hey, I'm worried about my D size. And the discussion came into like more like how to satisfy a girl sexually, and very long, intensive, comprehensive dialogue on exactly what to do there. Well, I can't really share that stuff publicly. That'll get me banned pretty quickly because a lot of the stuff's not PC. Like a lot of the things that you have to structure in your head to get to that point, or how you need to look at the entire topic. And again, it's just one of many topics we cover. Can't quite put it out there. So if you really want to get to the next level, this is where you do it. $9.97 lifetime membership pricing that gets you a discounted coaching, premium products with me, myself, Rich, Moff, Josh, Bentley, anyone else that is involved in the group. So started doing meetups a lot more. We do at least monthly Q&A sessions. A lot of times we have weekly calls. We have like breakout sessions. Guys visit me all the damn time down here. So that's where you take these conversations to the next level. There is a veil of anonymity, so we respect your privacy. We won't air any of your dirty laundry. That's where you get to those conversations and have those experiences with like-minded guys. Top 10% men group, $9.97 lifetime membership. Hit me up on Instagram at Jaron Scott for more information on that, or look in the description below the video. There is a link to the paywall, and I will get you in there and introduced to everyone. That being said, Steve, you got anything else to leave these lovely folks with?
Nope.
Yeah, your sign off is so he's like, yeah, no, cool, good.
No, I'm good.
Chilling.
I think we're all good.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for stopping by for yet another live stream. Looks like we'll be doing one tomorrow and Thursday too, so we'll figure that out. I'll go through the comments, guys, and take into consideration some of your video topics, so we can schedule those out for this week, so we have that nice recency effect and we keep this relevant. And that being said, I want to thank you all again for stopping on by, and until next time, we shall bid you all farewell.